If we cut off our arm, or if we have an amputated arm, we can imagine still being in the body and surviving and being that same person. But imagine my brain went into your body and your brain went into my body. Where would you go? I broke my neck in 2016.
This was a diving accident?
A diving accident. And then I had a traumatic brain injury, and I was diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease.
All within how much time?
All within like 2 years. I met my wife when I was extremely ill. I was in a neck collar. I was partially paralyzed. I was depressed. I shouldn't be here today. But I had a vision of throwing a ball with my future son. I think that we're becoming a culture of inputs rather than outputs. So you no longer need to be smart. Smart in a different way. You need to be able to ask the right questions. I think that the leaders of today aren't the people giving the answers, they're the people asking the questions. Expectation does not equal reality. You want it to, but it never will. And that's how we get stuck in suffering. You know, the dopamine addiction, and how the generation younger than mine even is addicted to technology, that you get the same dopamine hit that you get from a drug, from TikTok, or just a text coming in.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Spotlight on Good People, where we shine a light on the people who are making the world more connected, more compassionate, and kind. Before we dive into Jordan's incredible business journey, let's start with his story. A journey of resilience and purpose. In 2016, a diving accident left Jordan with a traumatic brain injury and a diagnosis of chronic Lyme disease. His world collapsed into despair, but instead of giving up, he found hope and rebuilt his life. With the love of his life, Lauren, and deep belief that healing is possible, Jordan transformed his pain into purpose. Today, he's the founder of HatchPath, a platform connecting people to certified coaches and wellness resources, transforming thousands of lives. His story is proof that with hope, support, and purpose, you can turn pain into a powerful force for good. I had another child, and I can't, I know that experience is magical. There's nothing like presencing the present when you see it.
Yeah.
When you create this beautiful human.
No, absolutely. I've been on a similar journey. My wife saw me on the baby cam on my phone with our toddler, and it made me, I realized that I was addicted to my phone. I deleted all social media, including LinkedIn, from my phone. And now I only have access through my desktop to respond to people.
Brilliant. Yeah. I love the move. I love that. Yeah.
I never thought about it. I never thought I was addicted to my phone. But just thinking about time, and like you said, how we don't know how much we have left, or we don't even know how much time we have. Like with me and you, I was asking how long is the podcast, but I guess we never really know. So yeah, the symbolism behind it is pretty eerie.
I love that you just did that, because I had that. So I read this book called The Comfort Crisis in the last couple of years, and I talked a lot about my addiction to my phone, and I thought I got a lot from the book, because I was like, gosh, I'm really going to cut back. I'm going to, and then I just fell right back into it. And my wife and I took a trip this month, and we landed in St. Martin. We're going to St. Bart's, and we landed in St. Martin, and we had about a 2-hour layover before we take that little puddle jumper, 15-minute flight to St. Bart's. And I was trying to get online, and at this St. Martin airport, they say the Wi-Fi, but the Wi-Fi wasn't working. I couldn't get it to work. And I'm just doing what I normally do to kill time, which is scroll nonsense, just put dumb stuff in my brain. And I was getting this anxiety, and I didn't know why. I just felt this feeling of like, I don't know, dis-ease. I was not, here I am in paradise. It's a beautiful place. We're going on this beautiful vacation. I was like, felt this internal turmoil. It was simply because I couldn't get online and do what I do online to kill time, just read nonsense. It wasn't like I needed to reach anybody. It wasn't like there was anything urgent. I was just uncomfortable in the moment. And it hit me like, oh my gosh, that was the whole source of my upset over nothing. It was so ridiculous. And I realized that how much habit it has become to just fill in empty space. I just need to have that. I just go to it. And it's not like or even text, like a text will come in that is about something in July. Like, hey, do you want to have dinner in July? And I got to stop what I'm doing. My wife's talking to me, and it's like, oh, wait, I got to answer this text. It's like, why? Yeah. Like, what's the why? There's no urgency to that. And it takes me out of the moment. I lose the experience. So that you doing that, I think is brilliant. I think that's the thing that I really will need to do, because what I did was I turned off all the notifications. I actually, texts don't come through. I said, babe, if you need to reach me, I'm going to use Signal, and Signal will come through. She's the only one who uses that. And text will not show up as an immediate thing. I'll only check them a couple times a day. If there's an emergency or something like that, people will know how to reach me. But really, the truth be told, there's only been one emergency I've had in the last 10 years. That was my father-in-law. And nothing else is that urgent that we need to be,
I know.
have it right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And like other people's urgencies aren't our own.
Yeah.
And I work with my platform, and that was something I really had to step back from, was dealing with people that had urgent things that they believed were urgent that weren't urgent for me. And absolutely. And
Yeah.
I was always on my phone, and I can imagine how that made my wife feel. Like
Yeah.
communicating with me, face to face, and then something would happen, and I may not look at it directly, but I used to wear an Apple Watch.
Right.
And
so you saw it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that she would just see me become in a different place.
Yeah.
And I recently, actually yesterday, made a LinkedIn post about, I use Sora, which is like a ChatGPT extension. You can make whatever picture you want. But I made a dad at a park with his 2 boys, but a thought bubble at like work or email, wherever he was. And I felt like that was me for so long. I could be with my boys or with my wife, but my headspace was always on what's next, what's wrong, what can I fix, what's troubling me.
100%.
Yeah.
I can identify with that so much. Like I'm not present. I am somewhere else up here. Physically I am, but man, I'm 2 steps ahead. Get out what you need to get out, because I need to think about that. Or, I'm listening, but I'm not really listening.
Yeah.
And it made for a really great trip. I mean, we had such an awesome trip,
That's
just
awesome.
to do that. And also it's a very primitive island. So the service isn't real good, which is fine, because I literally turned off my SIM card and was
That's
able
so
to
good.
just be with nature in a way that we hadn't been. And it was beautiful to take in the island the way it is supposed to be, like to be there and fully there and not thinking about things that I can't do anything about anyway. Like it's just,
yeah. I wonder how many texts you had that resolved themselves within the time you were there.
Happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens. People will figure it out. And like you said, if I always allow their crisis, whatever their urgent matter is, become mine when it isn't really mine, it's theirs. And people, it enables people, if people are working with me, to think on their own and to solve problems creatively and figure it out, and makes them more empowered and better at it anyway. So, now the thing is just training people like, listen, I'm not going to be at everyone's beck and call. If you don't get a text right from me, doesn't mean I don't love you. I do love you. It just means that my notifications are off. I'll get to it when I get to it. And, and that's okay, so, so that when I am with you, that you get the full me instead of just, this constant, just this, even going to bed, like it's so close to me, I just want to leave me in another room and turning off all notifications and just saying, I'll.
Yeah, that's a big practice to build that nighttime routine.
Yeah.
And like my wife and I really, before we had our first son, Bo, that was something we really worked on. Our phones would go away at 7 p.m. in another room. And we'd be with each other, whether we watched a show or talked or played a card game. We were just with each other. And now with the kids, we have the nanny cams. We have, all the stuff that we use. So the phone's on Do Not Disturb, but the kids are still up. But it still feels different.
Yeah.
I like the phone away. But building that practice where like people can't reach you after a certain time. Like I told my whole team, like, if you message me after 7 p.m., like you may get a response from me at 4 a.m. because that's when I wake up, but you're not going to get that thing solved. So if it's after 7, try to figure it out, but I'm sure it's still going to be fine the next day.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
You'll be all right. Yeah. Yeah. And if the building's burning down, I'm not a fireman anyway, so somebody else is going to have to handle it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be able to help with
absolutely.
it. Yeah. I love that. So that's cool.
It's hard to learn though, because it's stressful.
Yeah.
And it's addictive stress.
Yeah.
Like cortisol, and that state that you're in is a certain state. And the uncertain state is what you're not used to.
Right.
And it's hard. Yeah. And that's why dopamine's addictive. And I was actually listening to Simon Sinek talk this morning. I like to listen to YouTube videos now because I've run out of podcasts, but hopefully I can listen to this one. Yeah. And he was talking about, the dopamine addiction and how the generation younger than mine even is addicted to technology and scrolling and TikTok, and that you get the same dopamine hit that you get from a drug from TikTok or just a text coming in.
Yeah. Isn't that incredible?
It's crazy.
Yeah. There's a physiological thing that happens to your body that when we get those, and TikTok's masterful at it. They're so good at just honing in on what you like. And man, they just feed it to you and feed it to you. They're really good at figuring out, he likes this. Yeah. All right, let's just pump it full.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So good at it.
Yeah. And all the platforms are going to the infinite scroll, even LinkedIn. Like LinkedIn, the supposedly professional platform now has an endless scroll on mobile. like if you go to their video section,
Uh-huh.
you can get into an endless scroll, just like it's TikTok or Instagram.
Wow. Wow.
So like they know the addictiveness
They're
and
doing the same
they're
thing.
doing it. It's
Yeah,
called
they
the
wanna keep you on.
TikTokification of platforms.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I noticed even I'm YouTube Red or whatever it's called because
Yeah.
I mostly listen to podcasts and things on YouTube,
Hmm.
and do it without the commercials. But even they're throwing their shorts in there,
Oh
and
yeah.
sometimes they'll get me because I just with the whatever the thumbnail of this
Mhm.
short is, I'll click on it, and then accidentally one more, and then one more, and then
Yeah.
one more. They've gotten good at
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
thing too, and I catch myself because I also notice that I have that need to fill my mind with information. Like I'm always listening and always
Hmm.
listening. And I, while I love it because I love books on tape, I
Hmm.
rarely read a physical book anymore. I have the
Yeah.
Audible version of it, but I always have something in my ear,
Absolutely.
and it's always going on. And even that is something I need to tenor a little bit because I love information. I thrive on, I love Simon Sinek, Diary of a CEO, all these
Oh
great
yeah.
podcasts that are out there that just are. Rogan is great. There's so many of them that really just open my eyes to so many things. But at the same, and I used to even listen to those on fast speed so I could listen to more
Oh
of them,
yeah.
like
I know. I know what you're talking about. I like with the rise of AI, I built a GPT of Alex Ramosi, who's like a business mogul, you'd say, but like
yeah,
one of the people I like on
yeah.
media. So whenever I ask it a question, it's like I'm talking to Alex, and I found myself getting addicted to an artificial version of someone's opinion. Although like the
Well,
opinion's really good, and it pulls from every data source that like every video, every book he's ever written, everything he's ever put on the internet. It's not. It wasn't real, but I learned like my business systems, my sales processes, operations automations, different tech stacks to use when we were a tech company, all through a GPT of an individual
wow.
that I thought was real. I read a lot of books, and a lot of them are from the 30s, and I love Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
And he talked about, I still do this, but before bed I have my round table. And in my round table is every person that I would love to actually have at a round table.
Mm.
So like I have like Alex Hormozi, Lewis Howes, I have Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Russ Drake, and Rob Dyrdek. And when I go to bed, like I imagine that they're solving the problems in my head that I can't solve, and that while I'm sleeping,
Mm.
they do it. But then we're a step ahead with AI, so I built them all as GPTs. So when
Mm.
I ask questions, it's like they're answering it.
Wow.
Kind of the exact opposite of what I intend to do with my business, which is human connection. And like our whole slogan is, "We're not clinical, we're human." But I do see value in using technology better. Most people use AI as like a new Google search,
Right.
but it's so much more powerful than that.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
I love that there's that ability to do that, to draw on the people who inspire you
Yeah.
and the people who empower you, like to be able to just pull from their minds. And it is their minds because it's what they've put out there in the world. So you're using them as your resource, which is really cool because you're not just getting some random whatever Google thinks you should know.
Yeah.
You're saying, I want to know what they know, what they think, and
Yeah.
how they think. That's
Yeah,
cool.
like Alex Hormozi has a value equation. It's like value equals, perceived effort and a percentage that they'll get what they want over, exertion. And I forget the exact equation, but everything is due to his theories that he's published in all of his books. So when you ask a question, it's not just based on like a Google output. It's based on, the theories. Or if you use a professor that you really like, if you're in school and that professor has published papers, you can use AI to actually learn more, not to like gamify and cheat your work.
Yeah, yeah.
But you can go deeper. So I think that there's we're completely, I don't even know what we were talking about, but AI kind of came up. We're in a new landscape where it's changing everything.
Yeah. I gives me some, provokes my thought process or my mind, because there's one guy, Naval Ravikant. You've probably come across him at
Yeah.
some point, and he's out there with just his statements of what he says and his beliefs about life. And some of the things he says just blow me away. Like they're so simple yet so
Mhm.
radically mind altering to me. I just hear what he says, and I have to. He doesn't do podcasts very often. He's only done a
Yeah.
few of them. He was on Rogan 5 or so years ago, or maybe
Yeah.
longer. And I want to remember everything. A lot of things he says that are very, very simple, but just really make a lot of sense in
Mhm.
terms of how we live. And he's talking about how he raises his children, and he just, like a lot of them do, but there's just something he says that always resonates with me. And I'd love to be able to take, like you said, an AI version of, hey, what would Navel, how would he frame this issue, or what would he have to say about this? Because when I listened to his most recent podcast, he was on Chris Williamson is his name, I think.
The UK guy?
Yes. Yeah. He was on there recently, and he chose him to be on there because he doesn't do podcasts very often.
Yeah.
And that podcast was probably one of the most every time I hear him, it's life-altering.
I read his book, I believe. I thought it was about somebody in the Navy because his name is Naval.
Yeah.
Anyways, my mom gave me always gives me like a stack of books for my birthday. So I believe I read his book. Yeah. So I don't know anybody else named that.
Yeah, he's got like these.
He's like a billionaire.
Yes.
But he's like a very spiritual, enlightened.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. In a real practical way. He doesn't talk, outside of the lines of woo woo or anything that's he just kind of says it like it is without apology. And there's something, and I think it started with him just putting things on Twitter. Yeah. Statements on Twitter.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, absolutely. It was just very cool. Yeah. So, I think like the simplest things are always like the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how he makes it. And, here's a guy that, just, he doesn't need to do any of that. And he gets, they all put themselves out there and getting, Twitter's the world of where people will say whatever they want about everything and try to get attention. But the idea of, because ChatGPT, I think is life altering used the right way. I think it's so much more than what Google ever thought it could be, and now it's just at a whole other level. And the way you're using it, I think, is great.
I learned a new term recently. It's called vibe coding, and I didn't know that I was actually doing this. But I wear like a headset for work, so I walk around, and everything I do is just talking to the computer. So there's a new concept. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, called vibe coding, where you just talk to ChatGPT, and it records your voice into an audio, and you can build apps. You don't need to be a coder, or you don't need to be an engineer. You can do anything. And I usually use it just for, daily tasks like emails or, questions and like comparables. So like I run like split tests on my ideas and see which one's best. But vibe coding is essentially just talk to the computer in ChatGPT and receive information based on the inputs. So like I think that we're becoming a culture of inputs rather than outputs. So you no longer need to be smart. Smart in a different way. You need to be able to ask the right questions. And I think that the leaders of today aren't the people giving the answers, they're the people asking the questions. And when you have a team that can support you, I know that I know nothing now. I literally know nothing. And I have all these mentors and consultants. I have my own coach. Her name's Atilia. I work with coaches on our platform. I specifically work with Beck, who's a hypnotist. But I ask a lot of questions. Like if you're in a meeting with me, I'm typically just asking questions.
Yeah. And that's the world. I get, I'm still learning like every day is a new insight for me with ChatGPT in particular, like the power of what it relieves me of, even worry. It's so crazy to me. Like this concern I have about summer every year, because there's May, everybody goes up north, business drops. It's just typical. It's our business flow cycle. And I always panic when, the appointment book is 20% less booked than it normally is per season. And it's just the same cycle. And I share that with ChatGPT, like, hey, I'm worried, or whatever it is. And it's like, yeah, it's understandable, business is that, but here's what you need to do. It like gives me some of these action steps. It takes the emotion out of where I'm at emotionally and just puts it into simple format where I go, that's black and white. It's real simple. I get it. Okay. Now I know steps to take. And it's almost like its own form of a coach for me, just when I need a little feedback in a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it can be very helpful used in the right way.
Yeah. But asking it questions, like you said, and it's as it gets to know me more, I was looking at how, like, I guess the API, it'll work with Home Assistant versus Alexa. So I can say something to Alexa, but if Alexa's hooked up to Home Assistant, then Home Assistant will interface with ChatGPT so that I can talk to it directly from anywhere in the house. I haven't messed with it to do that yet, because that's a little project that I'll have to
I'm
create
sure
the code for that. And
you can do like automation and stuff like that.
Yeah. I love Home Assistant, but Home Assistant takes a little bit more work than Alexa does. But as far as being able to integrate it with ChatGPT, I don't even know what's possible with that. I'm sure that's a whole other world that's going to blow my mind as to what's, what can be done in that
Yeah,
world.
it's really cool.
But I'm
Yeah.
just, it's
And
neat
even,
to hear somebody.
yeah, I mean,
using it
even
like
though
that.
I'm so for it, I'm also very against it. I love the idea that you can get answers and responses, and I think that the advent of social media, the internet, and now ChatGPT, I feel like we're just becoming more removed from ourselves.
Yeah.
Like social media, like was supposed to bring us closer,
Yeah.
and now
It's made us
made it farther away.
the opposite.
And that was kind of like the process of me launching my business too. I broke my neck in 2016. Well, kind of. I did some real damage to my C-spine. I tore my rectus capitis off the back of my head. I needed 15 staples.
This was a diving accident?
A diving accident in my scalp. And then I had a traumatic brain injury, and I was diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease.
All within how much time?
All within like 2 years.
Wow.
I had to withdraw from my final year of university. I was a Dean's List honors student. I had to watch all my friends graduate. It was my first, experience with depression and suicidal ideation. And I didn't know that people could actually go through that. And I was lucky that I had amazing, parents. I saw all the best doctors all across the world. And they all told me basically I'm going to be handicapped for the rest of my life. Lyme's incurable. You've done really bad damage to your neck and head that, pretty much unfixable. And ChatGPT would have told me the same thing, because that's, the traditional way of thinking. And then I met somebody that overcame Lyme disease, and I didn't believe her. And she basically became my coach. She hooked me up with all my practitioners. I started with frequency healing, which I still do today, which is, wild. But, Dr. Royal Raymond Rife in the 30s invented a machine that could identify and obliterate stage 4 cancer cells. And even just saying it out loud sounds crazy, but since then they've mapped all these cells in Lyme diseases. There's like 90 different types of Lyme, and they're all mapped. And I worked with this crazy lady in Detroit. She ended up being incredible. Her name was Kyle Morgan. And I would have never met her without, meeting my coach at the time. And I spent 8 months treating Lyme disease with radio frequency. And then my blood work showed I didn't have Lyme anymore, but I was still sick.
Because there really is no traditional treatment for Lyme.
No,
right? Like
it's antibiotics. And I tried it, and then it destroyed my gut health. I actually tore my hip labrum at 20 years old. I was told I needed a new hip. Off of ciprofloxacin, which is a really, really strong antibiotic. A lot of places started getting I actually had a testicle infection that was misdiagnosed. The infection was so bad that it was, misdiagnosed as a varicocele, which is like a varicose vein. And they tied it off in surgery, which made the infection grow and get worse. And antibiotics would have never been able to reach it, but through frequency treatment, it was like gone right away. But then I was never spiritual. My wife's very spiritual. But I had a vision of throwing a ball with my future son. And I say this to everybody now because it's crazy. Like, I met my wife when I was extremely ill. I was in a neck collar. I was partially paralyzed. I was depressed. I shouldn't be here today. And I just had this vision that my life could be normal and better. The ball with my son was a really big one, and now I have 2 sons, which is crazy. But I wanted to be fully healthy. So she was a holistic nutritionist now. So she said that I need to focus on my diet. So I immediately removed dairy and gluten. I didn't even know what that was, for inflammation. And I started working with a nutritionist for supplementation. She was way more focused than me on my emotional side. So we call it spiritual, emotional. I feel like it's very similar. I feel like spiritual is going within, whatever that is, whether God, universe, or yourself. I think there's like so many layers to it. But I never touched it. I was so against it. I would do all of the physical stuff. I'd do the frequency treatment, which was nuts, but I completely believe in it. I still do it every day. Anyways, I started to do mindset work. I started meditation, and I found out that just created space. That we talked about social media and scrolling. In the meditation, it enabled me to create space, and that was the only time I was pain-free. I stumbled into deprivation therapy, so saltwater deprivation tanks, float tanks. I found that I could feel the same that I felt in meditation, so that lowered brainwave state, no pain actually in the float tank, and I was in extreme pain for like 5 years, 24/7. And so my parents actually purchased a float tank and put it in our basement. I'd spend hours in that thing, and what I believe it did was it broke my neurological pain barrier. So like I was always in pain. And my synapses or my neural networks were like telling me that I'm supposed to be in pain. Even when I killed all the Lyme and healed everything, I was still in extreme pain. But I needed to retrain it. So like meditation, hypnosis, breath work. Hypnosis was a big one. I met a hypnotist. It was completely outside of the scope of anything I ever thought. But what hypnotism does, it drops you into an extremely suggestive state, like you're a toddler. Oops, I touched the microphone. Like you're a toddler. And when you're a toddler until like the age of 4, sometimes 7, we're really malleable. That's why, 99% of people in religions are brought up in the same religion because, belief systems are instilled. And, kids are a lot like their parents because they're brought up in the same household. But you go into this suggestive subconscious state when you're in meditation. And I could do a drop with you because I've learned a lot of them. But right now, if you imagine you bit into a lemon, like just close your eyes and just imagine like biting into a lemon and really feeling it. Like you could feel what that would feel like.
Yeah.
So like you do a drop, you get into a suggestive state, and then you can retrain your subconscious programming. So when I first launched my business, I was working with this lady and I didn't know how powerful it was. But after one session, I no longer had thoughts that I had Lyme. They were changing. It was, and like now I never think about it, but I had to change that suggestive programming. So I was like, I started working practitioner after practitioner after practitioner. And I actually finished my business degree. I became a licensed personal trainer after I got a little bit better. And then I went back to school and I became a certified health and life coach. And I realized the industry is crazy. It's just like 400,000 people in the U.S. that call themselves coaches that don't want jobs. Think that they can help you, be a leader or a career expert, and they've never been a leader or had a career. And I wanted to streamline the industry for people that really help. And I met so many people that helped me that I just wanted to, build a platform that people could find the best people that could help. And we did that, but it didn't work. I built a platform that nobody wanted to use. I built some multi-millions of dollars on a marketplace with 500 coaches that nobody would book with. And now today we pivoted to a B2B clinic. And so far this year we've done 500 one-on-one sessions. Since last year we've done 2,000 one-on-one sessions. And I feel like we finally found product market fit. But it all came from my experience of seeking help. And needing help. And so like I related to ChatGPT because at some point human connection is always going to be necessary. And some of the people that we work with are special operators. So that the tip of the spear, we work with a charity that works with special operators and their spouses and veterans and active military members. And we're actually a part of the SOF resource library, so the Special Operators Resource Library. And these are like the hardest men and women that I've ever known or seen. And they work with our hypnotists and our Reiki and Huna healers. And the reviews we see are just insane. Like there's finally someone that, heard them, that was able to work through it with them, that, was able to, place the next step forward with them. And I think that if anything, we're the Etsy to, eBay. People always ask us, are our coaches board certified? Do we have, psychologists, doctors? I'm like, no, we really don't. We're the wild card. We're the weirdos. Like somebody went as far as to call us hippie that we're trying to hire. And I didn't like it at the time, but I was like, you know what? We are hippie. We're super weird. Yeah. And we're human. Yeah. So our new slogan is, we're not clinical, we're human.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. Because I think, particularly with Lyme's, it's not considered mainstream like the insurance won't cover a lot of the work. For my sister-in-law suffered from it for many years, and put my father-in-law through a financial hardship because he had to pay for everything through it, and because it's not covered typically, through a lot of the
and Lyme wraps itself in a biofilm, which is basically a phlegm that's impenetrable for medication typically, and so when you start taking antibiotics, you may make it go into an inactive state, which is what I felt the first time I took it. But then the drugs need to be stronger and stronger and stronger until the biofilm becomes so strong that the drugs do nothing. And now you've got a monster of a Lyme. And when you kill Lyme, you release co-infections. So you have like babesia, you have a chlamydia, you have so there's like infinite amount of co-infections. So the reason people get so sick is maybe the antibiotic worked, but you killed Lyme, and now you're stuck with like Lyme. They think is a bacteria, or but when the co-infections are released, they're viruses. So that's when you get really, really, really sick. And I wish that it was mainstream knowledge that you could use, frequency treatment or, there's some stuff like hyperthermia, which is I almost went to Germany to try hyperthermia where they heat your body to,
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't. But, there's so many treatments that may work. I just know it worked for me. And
Yeah.
I think Lyme's kind of like the hidden epidemic. I feel like it's just not talked about, and we're told that it doesn't exist because I
Right.
believe that just so many people have it.
Yeah.
Like long COVID, I think is Lyme. I think it's just a form of it. I think that, people got, like when you get Lyme, if you kill it within the first, whatever, I don't know. Maybe it's a month or 2 weeks, but if you do take a course of antibiotics when you get it, it should get rid of it because it's not strong enough. It's not destroying your immunity. It's not in there yet. But once it's in there and it's like chronic, these people that have long COVID have chronic COVID.
Yeah.
It's creating the same. And like when I look at the symptoms that are listed for that, it's the same thing I experienced. The brain fog, and the depression's deep. It's because spirochetes got into your brain, or spirochetes are like the Lyme that like actually spirals into your tissue, and it's physical, but it's also it shows you how connected the mind and the body is. Because when I was sick, the physical problems sucked. It was a lot of pain, but the thoughts that I would have that I wouldn't know that were, like, I couldn't tell anybody because it was so dark that I couldn't believe they were my thoughts. And, therapy was great. I liked therapy, but it didn't help because the therapist didn't have Lyme. It was, a great route for me to vent and get rid of some of the stuff in my head, but I needed to kill it. I needed to kill the Lyme.
Yeah.
And the depression went away. I didn't, it was completely correlated to the illness.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was deep. I've never felt that. I don't want that on anybody.
Yeah.
The TBI I dealt with, I know a lot of people that, have concussion, and that's also misunderstood. And I can't even imagine going back to that. That's, dark place. So,
But I want to ask you some questions about hypnotherapy because I had this experience in my life, and I've never talked to anybody about this outside of it because it was done in a fun setting. It was a Cancer Alliance or a cancer association, and they hired a hypnotist to come and for fun, to have fun with people. And I was called up onto the stage, and he went through the hypnosis process with this group, and the ones who weren't falling under, he dismissed and, kept going. It was down to a group of about 8 of us. And I remember the experience so vividly. It was like nothing I had ever experienced in my life in front of a crowd.
Oh, I wish I asked you.
It was phenomenal, phenomenal. I mean, because people think you're not there, it's not me, but it was me. Like I was conscious. I knew what was happening. I was aware of this situation, but I was able to experience everything the way, like the first thing was, you have an ice cream cone and it's a hot summer and the ice cream is dripping down the cone and you're licking the ice cream off. And I'm actually doing this and I could experience licking an ice cream cone.
You're like dropping
what's dripping it all over. And then he said, you are now a bodybuilder and you're one of the most fit guys in the world and you're showing off, you're flexing your muscles and showing off without any inhibition at all, like completely uninhibited experience of me standing up there like Mr. USA and doing all these poses where I would never do that ordinarily unless I was drunk or something maybe. But just this complete uninhibited way. And it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. And then he had us go around in the crowd and ask people for money because it was a fundraiser for the thing. And we were just going out unabashedly, give me some money, I need money. And he had us do this dance contest to the YMCA by the Village People. And we were dancing, and I would never dance in front of people because I'm a terrible dancer. But here I was just uninhibited. I was like a child, I felt like I was just a kid and it didn't matter. And who cares? And just let it be in a way that I'd never experienced. And people really thought, like, what did he do to that guy? Like, what did he do to me? Like, that's not him. That's not the guy I know. But it was transformational in a way that was, even though it was used for fun. But I can get how it's the first time I heard somebody talk about it in the way that you did, where where it's an experience that leaves you in a different way that, I can't imagine for using it for other forms of healing life or whatever it might be that they're using it for. Sounds fascinating to me.
I love that experience you had. And where I first heard about hypnotism was on Rob Dyrdek's podcast. And Rob Dyrdek's now a billionaire, but I knew him as an MTV skateboarder.
He's he's the dude.
And he said that when he wanted to get his life together, he started working with a hypnotist. He wanted to be a leader. He wanted to be a business leader, and he just couldn't envision himself outside of the person that he then was, which was like the MTV skateboarder. He made all his money, with the largest syndicate on MTV ever, with ridiculousness. But he has a lot of other companies, and he's done like 20 exits and the multi-millions of dollars. But hypnotism was what he owed everything to. So when I was really sick, I heard this podcast, and now he has his own, but I forget which podcast he was on. And I listened to it and listened to it and listened to it until I finally found my own hypnotist, and I did it virtually. I did it because it was COVID, which, was crazy still. You can't even remember that. But yeah, my first experience changed everything. It dropped me. I remember, I was she was like, get comfy. Like, you might fall asleep. You might, we'll wake you up every time you do, but you might fall asleep. It was insane. I can't describe it, but every time we built a story, and it was up to me to build a story. So when you like, I work with Beck, who's on our platform, and she's in the UK, and she's pursuing her PhD in psychology, but she's a hypnotist on our platform, and she's fully certified in, whatever that is. But we work really hard in the first 20 minutes to build the story. Like, we go into, what is my current story? So what do I currently think about myself? What is true? What isn't? And what is the new story that I really want to believe? And that, it's all perception. And, in Napoleon Hill's books in the 30s, he goes as far as say, everything is 100%. He doesn't say in your head, but something about it starts in your head. Everything does. Everything begins as a thought. And where does the thought come from? I forget who I asked this the other day, but I was like, where does the first thought of your day come from? Like, how does that just pop into your head? And the answer is, I don't know, but hypnotism changes that thought to a more aligned thought with what you want it to be. Yeah. So like that first thought of the day is so important. And like, where does it come from? Like, I don't know. I have no idea.
Right. And but we just allow whatever's there to be there and let it go.
And people are like, from memory. I'm like, but your memory, is that accurate? Is memory accurate? And there's studies that show like memory is a perception. So somebody that had the same experience as you may have a completely different memory.
Right, because we're just adding meaning to whatever happens. Whatever our meaning is, we add to it like it's the truth.
I'm always so interested in thought. And like, there's another exercise that was on a really cool person's podcast I like, and it was talking about, if we cut off our arm or if we have an amputated arm, we can imagine still being in the body and surviving and being that same person. But imagine you and I, my brain went into your body and your brain went into my body. Where would you go? And it's like it's an exercise in consciousness, and like that's not physically possible. But if it were, like, are we our brains? Like, does our brain store our consciousness, or like is our consciousness somewhere else? And I don't think there's a right answer to that question, but it's just a belief system. Like, we believe so much that our thoughts are in our brains, and there's, science that, backs it with activity and synapses. And, but like, when does consciousness start to exist? Like, and my son was just born, he's 3 weeks old. It's like I said, they say it's like the first heartbeat in the womb. I'm like, but is it, or was the consciousness always there? Like, is it consciousness something that we can even describe? And, I listened to this podcast called Know Thyself, and it goes to as far as like, what isn't like, is this table conscious? Like, is a tree conscious? Like, where do we start to believe that consciousness exists? And they say it's sentient being, so something that can think for itself. But do we know, like, a dog can probably think for itself, but like, do we know that like birds think for themselves? They, one bird may fly its own path, but when you put 10,000 birds together, they start doing like, they call it sacred geometry. They'll do like spirals, and when there's 10 birds, they'll fly in a V.
Which is like, so cool.
Right. Sorry, I got off topic, but there's so many interesting questions I have about the mind and consciousness, because
no, it's all tremendous. I'm right there with you. It fascinates me too, because like our thoughts dictate so much of what our lives are about, and we believe them all the time as if they're real and the truth, and we live by them. The story I have about myself is that I am fill in the blank. I'm short. I'm Italian. I don't have hair, and I have hair salons, and like these stories that we have about ourselves, that we live like, they're the truth. Well, some of it, like the truth, the facts of them are, but the self-limiting thoughts that that I have about myself, and breaking those barriers down. Like I live like they're just real, like I'm not an athlete.
Yeah.
Well, I do I wasn't as growing up, but I still go to CrossFit now, and I do the best that I can.
Good for
but
you.
I have this story in my head that, oh geez, I couldn't have been on the football team. I couldn't have been, whatever the story is.
I feel I think everybody resonates with that, and it's about, I think it's about becoming aware too, because last year I completed an Ironman with a group of people here. You had Mitch Vanderhagen on the podcast.
Yeah.
I did it with him.
Yeah. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
That's a sick level
we
of
did
living,
a half Ironman. Mitch has done fulls and all that stuff, but I've never learned to swim. I've never had a swimming lesson. I never been on a road bike. Never professionally run. Before getting sick, I was a hockey player, a very large, 200 and something pound, 5'9" hockey player, and never did I think I'd be a cardio athlete. I just committed. I just said, I'm going to do it. The first time I was in the pool, I couldn't do 2 lengths. Very discouraging, almost quit. Didn't want to do it. I didn't get back in the pool very often, to be honest. I just thought, I'll go for it once it comes. And when the race day came, that was hard. But I feel like, it's a story. Now I'm an Ironman or a half Ironman. I'm a half Ironman. But that story didn't exist last year.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's
like
awesome.
You make a story.
Yeah. That's a beautiful thing. That's awesome.
Yeah. And the story of being sick, is kind of just a story too. It physically existed in my body. I was physically sick for so long, but we get into this process of identity. And I really challenged people that I worked with when I was sick, or when I was coaching people through being sick, about identity. There's a huge thing called spoonies, or Lyme warrior, or whatever it is in the Lyme community, where we have spoons, and spoons were our metric of energy. So like hypothetically, like you and I, we may have enough spoons that we don't even think about it. But for someone with Lyme, washing the dishes might take all your spoons. It's so much effort and energy, the smallest task. And there's, a community around being sick. So, my challenge when I got out of being Lyme, or with having Lyme, was to get rid of that identity. I said, chronic Lyme survivor. That didn't help me, because then I was still tied to that energy of being in Lyme. And now the only time I talk about is, if we're having conversations, but I don't ever think about that time in my life. To me, it was just a portion of my life that, I'm so grateful for. It built my business. I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't have had my children.
Yeah.
And it was a really hard time. I put so much stress on my parents, which I'm grateful for them too. And I can't imagine now as a father what that would feel like. But the identity, people will say, I'm in remittance, or I'm just words carry so much power. Like I'll never say my Lyme's cured. It's never coming back. But people get so worried that it'll come back that they use words that are they're so, language is so powerful.
Sure.
And then, so I had to really work with that. And I worked with a coach. I worked with someone that helped me in the Tony Robbins world. Her name's Attilia, and they think that there's really only 3 things. There's language, focus, and physiology. So if you want to change, they call it your triad. Those are the 3 things you focus on. So you'd imagine someone that's depressed, they're slunched over, they're breathing more rapidly. So their physiology, they're looking down, they're looking at the floor. So when you think about changing someone that's depressed, you'd probably think about changing their thoughts. But, the quickest way out of that state is to get up and do jumping jacks and change your physiology. So the next thing is your language. They're probably saying, I suck. I'm never going to do anything. This situation sucks. And they're focusing on what's wrong. So, in the Tony Robbins world, where I learned all about my life and coaching, it's always, everything starts with physiology. It's how you carry yourself. And then you can work into language and stuff. But once you change your physiology, everything changes. So like in my coaching sessions, my coach is like, are you sitting, Jordan? She's like, get up out of your chair, jump, do some squats. And then you can feel it. You can feel the energy. And if you do one of the Tony Robbins events, I love Tony. When I was growing up, I was told that, he's I don't remember the words, but he's not a good person. I heard from other people. I've heard all this stuff. But I've been to all of his events, and at Date with Destiny, he does something where he makes you plan your future. So it's a 6-day event. It was over my birthday last year, and he makes you plan your future over 3 days, and you're going to exhaustion. You're planning your future. And then for a whole day, he makes you think, now we're going to go into a meditation. And the meditation is, imagine 1 year's passed and you've taken no action. And we do it all the way until we die. So plan your future and then don't take action. And that the power of negativity is so much more powerful than planning your future. So like, imagine 20 years later, you've planned this amazing future, but you never took action on it. You know, that was a powerful moment for me. So like now whenever I get stuck or I don't want to do something, I change my physiology, but then I go into a state of, okay, what if I didn't do this and it's like a week from now? How would that feel? And then I go farther, like a month from now, a year from now. And it's like, oh, I need to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what, Tony Robbins, you had a lot of, you've really sought out some gurus to help you through this. Go back to your early years. What was life like growing up for you? What your parents, what did they instill in you? You're Canada, you're from, right?
Yeah, I'm Canadian. I'm from outside of Toronto, north of Toronto. I think my parents instilled in me that, you know, they're very hard. My dad's like, my dad was retired when I was born. He's a very hardworking guy. He made all of his money in auto parts. You know, he knows everything about systems and business and really, you know, but he always told me that like work is hard and, you know, language matters. And I always thought about that, and, you know, hard work will get you where you want to go. So I worked hard. I got straight A's. I, you know, played on the highest level of hockey I could. I played junior A hockey when I was 15 in high school, while I was still getting straight A's and whatever, and getting into every university. And they instilled in me that, you know, it's important to work hard. But I always was stressed. I dealt with chronic stress. I remember being on antibiotics every flu season since I can remember because of, I think, now looking back at it, my stress levels were abnormally high just because I was trying to keep up with not their expectation, but my expectation for myself. And, you know, we never focused on like nutrition or mindset, but I had a coach, you know, for everything. I had fitness coaches, tutors for school. I had hockey, skating coaches, but not one person asked me how I'm feeling inside my head. And I just look back and I just remember how stressed I was. I basically crashed out in university. I was on my own. I did really well, but by year 4, I dove off a dock and I hit the bottom of a lake and did that damage. But yeah, I think that the values they instilled in me was hard work, caring for others, doing my best always getting up. I remember if I got hurt in hockey, like my arm would break or my shoulder would pop out, I got up. Like, you get up. Like, if you're knocked down, you get up. Like, in anything. Which I'm so grateful for. But
finish the game. The arm's broken, doesn't matter. Finish the game.
Yeah, put ice on it. We'll talk about it later. Yeah, and I'm so grateful for all of that and like the care and support. The things that I value now are a little different. I value, you know, space, like peace. So I remember in high school, get all my work done when it was assigned because I didn't want the stress of like it to, you know, and when the due date came, if I didn't have it done, that stress would like kill me. And now I don't value as much what people think of me, but I value the space that I create. I value the value I give to others. So like what I always think of is like, how can I serve better from a servant's heart? So if I'm doing a speech, I used to get so nervous, but that's because I valued more about what people thought of me than the value that they got from what I said.
Yep.
So now it's like, you know, my values are my family. I love my family, and I want my boys to grow up and know they can do whatever they want, but also know that they can rest into it. You know, they can, you know, take an approach that's not so hard. You know, they don't have to, you know, grind. And like, I think there's a place for hard work, but like this, what do we call it? We call it like grind culture or productivity culture. Or like everything is geared towards working hard and result of working hard. I think that there's a lot to setting an intention and allowing, which was something I never knew or never thought of. But like I never really thought about what I wanted when I was a kid. And it was always like, no worries, you have time. Like, you're young, you'll have time to figure it out. And, you know, I challenge if you're like in high school or younger, or figure out what that is. It can always change. But decide what that is, and then, because once you decide, every action you take will be based off of that decision. And if you don't decide, then you're making so many actions because you're trying to like you have no idea which direction you're going.
Yeah.
So like you're working overtime. So decide and allow. And everything, good in my life came from a challenge. So when things go wrong, I like Joe Rogan. You probably saw it, but he says when things go wrong in his life, he says thank you. It's hard to do in the moment, but
I could get that completely because we made this declaration this past year. We got everybody in the company together, and we made this declaration that 2025 is going to be the best year of our life. As a company, as a family, and each individual, my role, making sure that everybody in our family has the very best year of their life. And that's going to take something. It's going to require getting uncomfortable. It's going to require me asking, like, what do you made this declaration with all of us, and you said you wanted to lose 20 pounds. You said you wanted to spend more time with your family. You wanted to be more present. You wanted to have an emergency fund, whatever it was for everybody that left them feeling accomplished, like they had created the best year of their life. And to start off the year, my father-in-law dies unexpectedly. Like, whoa, that's not a pathway to me having the best year of my life. Like, I'm suffering here. And that's a part of life. That's a part of it. And I know there's gifts in it. And I know he was so spiritually fit and so ready for heaven. He knew whenever he went, it was his time, and that he's okay with it. He's living his best. He's with everybody he wanted to be with. And he knows we'll be with him at some point too, for this little fraction that we're here. But it certainly wasn't in the pathway. What wasn't in the timeline that I saw it as that. But I know there's a blessing out of it. There's something out of it that the universe has delivered to me and to us that we will make this the best year ever. And we don't know how that's going to look, but we've made that declaration. And now living into that, well, we've got work to do, all of us.
That's great.
Despite the challenges and the heartache and those things that happen, we have to, but without that, the void gets filled without having an intention or without making a declaration. It gets filled with whatever the drama of the day is, whatever it's the economy is, or
like a closet theory. Like, you can never have an empty closet. The goal is to keep it clean, keep it empty, but no matter how big the house is, no matter how big your storage is, it's full. Filling that mind or like your closet in your head with productive, I don't like the word productive, with useful things that, family, like when I do get time, because it's limited now, like I want to spend that time in like a peaceful state. So if I have my phone, I'm like, oh, I need to get rid of this quick. But one declaration I made, I like the term declaration. We call it incantation. One incantation I made was that it's a question. It says, why be upset if I'm going to do it anyway? Or why, my son would get up in the middle of the night. He's 3 weeks old. And I'd be like, oh, again? Like, I'm tired again. Or, something goes wrong at work and I have to, fix it or talk to someone or, just send an email. It's not that big of a deal. I'd be like, are you serious? Like, again, like we've been through this again. And, my incantation is like, why be upset if I'm going to do it anyways? And my coach helped me with this because it says my first one was, why be upset if I'm going to have to do it? You don't have to do anything. Like, you don't have to. Like, if the baby's crying and he needs to get up and you don't get him, like, that's a choice. You don't have to. Even though something bad's going to happen if you don't, like, that's still a choice. So the language is really important. I really want to make sure that I use the right language. So the incantation is, why be upset? Why would I be upset if I'm going to do it anyways? So like that's the gym, or like, the gym's never been a thing for me. It's almost like I need to work hard to not go to the gym. Like you talked quickly about weight loss. And one of the things we're doing an article and I brought up weight loss, and I'm like, well, people look at weight loss in many different ways. Somebody, may have a deep trauma that, they're filling by, eating improperly or, overeating, and, sending them to the gym is not the right solution for that individual. It's, dealing with that trauma. Or another person that might be wanting to lose weight, is inactive in a sedentary lifestyle, but still eats well, but overeats and, can't get the calorie burn. So that person may need a little uptick in their physical activity. But no two people are the same when it comes to like any journey. And weight loss is an easy one because we can all understand it. But the same comes to depression and stress and anxiety. Like, the way I feel stress is definitely not the same way you feel stress. It can't be. We're two different people. So building the systems to deal with it are so important. The language we use and the things we focus on. Like, I just get stressed when I don't know what people think. Like, if I'm at home and my wife probably isn't angry at me, but if I think she is, I'm like, okay. And then I run a million things in my head that I could have done wrong, which is unhealthy. So now I know to have that conversation with her, and I don't ask her, why are you mad? That's the worst. I used to do that. I used to say, why are you mad? It's the language is that she's mad, and then she'll become mad. My question is, and it's not, is everything okay? It's along the lines of, hey, what's up? Hey, like, what are you working on? Is there anything I can do? Because if I ask if you're okay, that's still insinuating that something's not okay.
Right.
So when we talk to ourselves in our heads too, if we go like, what's wrong? We can magnetize all the things that are wrong.
It's automatic.
Like a gratitude journal is kind of cliche. I used to do a gratitude journal and it didn't work because I would spend every morning writing 10 things I'm grateful for, but I didn't feel it.
Yeah.
And I didn't that's the physiology part. That's like the physiology part. It's like, I'm grateful for my son. I'm grateful for the weather. I'm grateful for the
talking points.
I'm grateful for this.
Live in Naples.
Until you feel it. Like, that's where I think everything, and I don't know anything. I'm just trying to figure out myself and have a good time. And I've learned some things that work for me, but the physiology, language, and focus that changed everything for me. The triad. So I have different triads. Not that everyone's the same, but like my leadership triad, it's always named after someone. So like mine's Tony Robbins. It's just like the way he leads. He's charismatic. So I can imagine his physiology. He's standing tall. He's breathing deeply. He's making eye contact. He's completely there. Like his language is certain. He's like, he's speaking from his heart. He's using intuition. He's guiding people from a place that's certain, and is focused on everything that's right. Everything that's right now. It's on the focus on the present. But if my physiology, my triad for being at home, is grounded, and my grounded triad is so different. I'm relaxed. I still have deep breaths, but my focus is on, the present moment and everything, and like my family, and my language is not certain. My language is, open and listening and accepting and responsive. So there's different triads that I use for, different areas of my life. But I don't know about you. Every time I get on a Zoom meeting, I set the triad, so I smile. I do jumping jacks, which might sound crazy, but even at the co-working space of Venturex, people will see me get out of my seat and like do some squats or do jumping jacks like a second before I get in my meeting, and I sit down. And if people are on the meeting in a different energy, I just go, "Hey, everybody, what are you guys grateful for today? Like, what's up? Like, how can we get this started? I'm Jordan. Nice to meet you. Try to change the vibe."
Yeah, that sets the tone for the whole conversation immediately.
And no matter what the meeting is, like if I'm doing we do concierge calls for every single client that comes through our platform. And I think on Friday I had 11. And like they're 15-minute calls, they're relatively quick and it's fun. But even though I'm not seeing the person on Zoom, it's a phone call. I still do it. I still smile. I still do my jumping jacks. I still get into the state because I think people, it's my belief, but it may be true, but I just think that people can feel energy before anything.
100%.
So like before they even hear my voice, they can feel my energy.
100%. Yeah. It's why, like the people that we hire, there's certain technical skills that we can train them, but if it's in their heart, if they're a servant and they love to serve others and they just are genuinely, authentically concerned about other humans, it's demonstrated. That's something that usually can't be taught in a way. They just have that way of being that they, are servants. They love to help others and serve others. And then the technical parts about haircutting, we can teach them. But if that's what they love,
I love
you can
that.
feel it. You can feel that they're genuinely concerned about, we might have 20 people out there working today and 2 guests are in the salon, but all 20 people are concerned about those 2 guests and their coworkers, that genuinely, are they comfortable? Is their drink full? Is your head, neck, and shoulder massage relaxing you? Are you going to get wobbly when you stand up? Can I help you over to the chair? The bathroom's this way. Let me show you. Just like a guest in their home, but being around that energy and having 20 people who have this similar values and similar ways about interacting with other humans creates a vibe or an energy in the space that's unique. It's not normal. I want people to leave here and think, wow, that place, there was something about that place that was different. I don't know what it was. Had my hair cut 1,000 times, 1,000 other places, but there was a collective energy there that I love being around. There was something special about it. It was something that got on me that I want more of, that I got inside me. So it's more than just a hair salon. I like to say that we deliver more, and I hope that we do that. But that's our mission, is to make sure that, people get their world rocked coming in here, not just because they look great, but they feel loved and appreciated. And it's something that not every place gives in the world. I mean, some of them are in marriages that, maybe they don't want to be or shouldn't be, or they just haven't gotten that love or appreciation in many years. And they come here and feel love and feel pretty and feel sexy and feel, like ready to conquer the world, that we gave them that little piece of, what everybody loves and everybody appreciates. So I get what you're saying.
I don't think there's anything different than what we do. Like, you may add an additional element of like great hair, but I think, customer service is at the core of what we do. Yeah. People want to feel loved. People, the biggest thing that they're missing is love, like self-love. Like our logo, it's on my hat. It's an H, but it's an H hugging itself. And like my ultimate goal when someone leaves our platform is that now they're their best friend. Like the negative talk is something that we all struggle with. And I know that if I'd allowed it to come through and I heard it, it would hurt my feelings. And if I said that to you, what I'm saying to myself, we wouldn't be very happy with each other. So like, I love that. And I'm sure when the people leave here, the first thing they do is something nice for somebody else, because it's contagious. Yes. Like, you did something nice for them, and I guarantee as soon as they walk out the door, maybe they're calling their friend, maybe they're calling their daughter or their son. They're doing something nice. Yes. Like, it's a contagious. Like, negativity is contagious, but positivity is equally contagious.
100%. Even if it's the slightest thing, like they let somebody in traffic, or somebody cuts them off and they go, he's having a bad day. It's okay. Instead of putting the finger up right away and getting upset about it, just allowing that to be. And they saved a road rage incident, or they gave somebody grace that needed grace today. Yeah,
and then that person, if their state's able to change into something more positive, like, whoa, I misacted in that situation, I'm going to do something nice for somebody else. It's so crazy, the web that you could spiral with just making an smallest impact on somebody's day. Yeah. I love that. And I'm sure the people that come here have such an awesome experience that they go home and, potentially people are like, where did you go? Yeah. That's what you want.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That's our intention, is to just, leave people moved and touched in a way that, they didn't know that was even in the cards for them when they got here. Well, I just wanted to get my hair cut, but you also got these other things. And that's I'm blessed to be surrounded by some really good souls, and David is one who
I love David.
He's a special human, man. He's got a teddy bear love about him. He's just so kind and so intuitively thoughtful.
I don't think he's ever asked me how I'm doing in the kindest way. It's always something deeper. Yes. It's always something that he knows about me that he asks about. Like, the kind of like, hey, how are you doing? It's not like that with David. David will always be present, listening. Yes. And I've noticed that about him for sure.
Yeah, there's an authenticity and a realness about him, that he's genuinely concerned about how you are. Yeah. Not just a talking point. He's like the real deal. Yeah. I love, and he attracts people like that around him too. So
I love
when he talked about you and, wanted you to be a part of this, he was like, he knew you were right for this. I know David, he knows good people. He knows that too.
Thank you. Yeah. Really appreciate it.
So if somebody, even if there's just one person or maybe more, but if there's one person out there who is actually listening today and is going through what life gives us, which is the struggles of life, mentally, spiritually, socially, just the anxiety of life. And, this year is no different than any other, where there's always challenges. Is the economy going to be good? Is the summer going to be good? Is the stock market going to, what's going to happen with the tariffs and my life and my future and my job and my career, or my children, or my just found out somebody in my family has cancer, all the issues of life that everybody deals with every day that are part of life. What is something that somebody could do, or how could your company help them? And what would a step that somebody could take? And what state do they need to be in to get the support from your organization?
That's a great question. I think that the first thing that we need to do is feel. Like, whatever it is, feel it. Like, if it's negativity, or, you found out somebody in your life has cancer, feel it. I think that the biggest thing we try to do is move past it and let it, feel it. Be in the moment, meditate on it. Don't project it, build the future don't tell a story that's not the truth. Like, don't build any stories, because nothing is true yet, but feel the fact of the day, whether it's good or bad. I think emotions are really powerful. And, asking for help, I think, is the biggest skill anybody can have. And if it's asking for help, that's one thing. But accepting help, if it's given to you, is another skill. We can't do it alone. I don't think anybody can do it alone. Whenever help's given to me now, I accept it, no matter what it is. I think that person that's offering help to you, you'll make their day. You'll make them feel amazing. But the help that you're getting, you probably desperately need. So, our platform, we're a complete B2B platform. We work with some companies and organizations, but we service employees and members of organizations. So there's no direct access to us for consumer.
Yeah. Okay.
But that would, my advice comes from my own experience. It's when something's changes, life experience. I think we always go through identity changes. It's just part of life at every stage. Feel it. I think the biggest challenges come from not feeling it and building a story that's untrue. Like when my Lyme disease and my neck, sorry, I keep touching the mic. When my neck injury and my Lyme disease, I built a story that I was going to be handicapped forever, and I lived in that story. I didn't live in the reality that I had Lyme disease. That's completely different. Like feeling that I had Lyme disease, it should feel, it's just a fact. It's not going to feel like much. But like if my parents died of cancer, I need to feel that. And then, the reality of the future would look a little different, but the biggest challenge that I do is I project a story. I'll project a story when I get a fact. Like, the website's down for HatchPath, 11 people today couldn't have their sessions. Oh, we're going to lose the client, the business that we're working with. Oh, if we lose this business, we're going to lose the next business. So we're never going to get more work again. Like that story is not true. And that's a negative cycle. The truth is the internet's down or our website's down. I can feel that. Okay. Interesting. That's the truth. And then work through it.
Yeah. So a business leader who owns a business or has a business could sign on with the company to use it.
And we work on a credit-based system. So organizations purchase credits for them from us, that they use for their the people that work for them or their members. So you can purchase anywhere from 100 to a couple thousand credits, and you allocate those across your organization. And we work on a concierge call basis. So the minimum number of credits that an individual will work with us for is 12 credits, and we believe that that's one commitment to action. The empathetic accountability that our coaches give is over a scheduled amount of time, and we cadence that over bi-weekly. So that's about a 6-month engagement with a coach. So like if you're an organization that wants to create an impact, a culture of care, and really, give your employees something that they haven't had before, you can totally reach out to us. And we love working with organizations of any size. And you can work with us from, as little as 10 individuals to thousands of individuals. And we've done both.
So aside from the impact that you're having on the businesses and the businesses' employees, you also support veterans? Is that
absolutely. So we work with an organization called Operation Healing Forces. And they directly support special operations veterans, active military members, and spouses. And when we kind of stumbled into them, they do amazing retreats. They do about 50 retreats a year for these veterans, active military members, and spouses, where they go to absolutely incredible places. Like some of the houses in Naples are donated to this charity, and they spend a long weekend or a couple days there. And they also do immediate needs cases. So if someone has a health or wellness or financial need, they'll take care of them. And the way that we partnered with them was we built an entire portal last year that we enabled them to allocate funds to individuals that could use our coaching services. Since then, we've pivoted to a credit-based system because we realized money and mental health can't coexist. It might, but it was just not a good feature on our platform. So now they allocate credits. So let's say, if you're a special operator, a veteran or spouse of a special operator, you can actually reach out to Operation Healing Forces, and your entire journey with us is covered by them. And it's a really, really, really powerful thing. So, we've done almost 2,000 sessions with Operation Healing Forces now for their members.
Wow.
And they absolutely incredible people.
Thank you for doing that for them, because they're just, they have a special place in my heart always. Veterans, active military, those people who give their there's so many sacrifices they make that, we don't think about on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
So, it's just so much, so appreciated.
And I'm a Canadian, and we do have our own military. It's not the same, but meeting these individuals, and I do when I say concierge calls, it's me. It's myself and my head of operations, Karis, and I take Mondays and Fridays, and she takes Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if you're booking and you want to book with me, it's Mondays and Fridays. But I meet everybody. So like when we talked about AI, I think it's great, but the human connection I think is undeniable. Like what we do is we meet with these individuals where they are. We have them fill out a short form so that I'm prepared on the concierge call. And then we're able to work with them to pick a coach that suits their needs. So somebody may be looking for a leadership coach or a hypnotist or a nutritionist. But we work with them to make that first step so much more, cohesive and energetic. They don't log in and like pick from a list of people and, go online and, select a session, because I think it's just something that needs a little bit more, like friendly touch. So everything's human. And, it seems to, work. And if they ever need to cancel or change, they can. But
I like the customization of that, where you're actually finding out, you're suiting them with, because you know both sides. You're getting a little information from them, and then you know your team. Yeah. So you know where they're gonna. It's like similar to that with hair, where let's find out about your personality a little bit. Let's find out about what you're looking for, and I'll find the right fit for you. So the vibe is right too. Yeah. So the connection is
absolutely. We're like matchmaking. And like the other day, you work with an organization here in Naples, and one of their employees reached out to me saying, like, Jordan, you're a matchmaker. And I'm like, that's not my intention, but I'm so glad you had a great experience. Yeah. And I'm not a very emotional person. I've cried for the birth of my 2 sons and my wedding, and I think that's about it. But I cry all the time with the reviews. An individual, a couple had a stillbirth, and they didn't know how to, work through that. And they found Operation Healing Forces, worked with a bunch of modalities. They went on a retreat with them, and then they found out about us, and both the husband and the wife worked with us. And she sent us a testimonial, which, was an unsolicited one, but I cried. I was brought to tears that, she, was able to, find peace, find purpose, find, a new path by working with one of our practitioners. I call them coaches. They're really just like people. And yeah, it moved me. I feel like when you work with a coach is such an interesting term because it can put people off, but it's like a non-scary encounter. It's like you and I talking right now. This is almost like a coaching call. And when you sit with a coach, you can be in your bed. Like we built imagery that, for the spouses of veterans, like they're home with their kids and they're like doing all the housework. Like you can literally be in an element of chaos. If you have a headset on, you can work with your coach. The coach it's not a psychologist. We're not asking questions. We're not putting data sets in. There's not any element to be scared of. We don't record our sessions. Nothing's documented. If you break a policy, like if there's a threat towards our coaches, if our coach threatens somebody, that's something different. You can report that. But it's a super safe environment. And that's why I think we have such outstanding outcomes. Like people are able to just let it all go, be there for the hour or half hour that they book in, and just have that experience.
That makes so much sense. You think about any world-class athlete has a coach, and they have a great coach, a coach that points out their blind spots. Yeah. This world-class athlete wants to be the best at what they're being. If you want to have a great life and live life fully, you have blind spots that we don't always see, and a coach can see those things and point those out to you. And I get that it makes so much sense, life coaching, because what we're doing is the game of life, and we want to have a great life. And, having support in that way is different than psychology or therapy. Yeah. Coaching to give you the best outcome of life. I get it. I support it. I see the value of it tremendously, fully. I think it's great because there's not enough of it available, and people don't know how to get it, where to get it, what the value in it could be.
Or even like a trusted source. And like that's what we dealt with was, the market's inundated. If you go on LinkedIn today, I think everybody and their sister's a coach and, giving advice. And I think it's great to a point. I think you can always learn from anybody. But, our care teams that we've built, the people, like we have a backlog of almost 1,000 coaches now. And we only have 15 on our platform. We had 500 last year, which is just, an ego thing. And we pulled it back to 15 because we realized, we want our best and only the providers that we could trust on the platform. But I love this is like a quote. I guess it is a quote, but people spend more time planning a 2-week vacation than they do their entire lives. Yeah. So true. With a coach, you plan your life. Whatever that is. If you're going in retirement, if you're overcoming illness, if you want to pursue a professional sport, if you want to, raise children, like, just starting is great. I always think just start, but like then plan it. But if you plan it with someone that, like, all of our coaches are empathetic. And I think the word empathy comes from you've already done it. So like we have coaches that have overcome cancer. We have coaches that, have gone through 40 years of leadership positions and coach on leadership. Yeah, like our hypnosis coaches have all overcome a form of trauma or weight loss or
Mm.
whatever it is. So when you work with our coaches, you're working with someone that's been in your shoes, has gotten to a point that you'd probably like to get to, and is enabling you to avoid trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to like try a billion things, fail and learn. Failing and learning is part of the process, but we limit that and give you a support system that's so empathetic that
Yeah.
you can message them anytime through a secure, we're fully compliant software where nobody else will know, and
Mm-hmm.
that coach will get the message and respond to you. Yeah. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Tell me your mother's name. I'm going to shift gears here for a second because
Okay.
I want to get more into your soul.
Okay.
What's your mom's
my
name?
My mom's name's Anne.
All right. How would Anne describe you?
I don't know. I think my mom would call me ambitious. Yeah. I think she, yeah, I don't think, like, I think that's the main word that she would use. And I think ambition can be clouded, maybe not ambitious, but driven. And in anything, like if I'm driven to be relaxed, I'm going to relax.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, my mom's always been my support system too. I think when I was getting raised, my dad was with me 24/7. My mom obviously like was there, but my dad took me to all my hockey games, all my hockey practices. We traveled a lot for hockey, like to the U.S., to Europe, wherever we went. And I think that, might have been hard for my mom. And but like now, yeah, my mom's like in my corner. She loves, my sons, Bo and Beckham. So I think she'd call me driven. Loving maybe too.
And loving too. Okay.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Maybe not, but I definitely feel that now. When I was a kid, definitely not. Yeah. I was different.
Yeah. Well, you're evolving and growing as a man. And your wife's name?
My wife's name is Lauren.
Lauren?
Mm-hmm.
How would she describe you?
I think that I would think that she would describe me as compassionate, understanding, empathetic. Yeah, I think that she, supportive. She's got an incredible business too. She runs Village Naples, which is a meal delivery service for postpartum moms. So like, she's 3 weeks postpartum and she's cooking all day today.
She likes to cook?
I don't know if she likes to cook. She likes to support moms.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a funny thing. Yeah. People always ask her that. She's a great cook. She's a great nutritionist. Her and her partner are kind of opposite ends of the same coin. Her partner's a dietitian and she's a nutritionist. So they, those two worlds typically don't exist. It's like, the medical and what we do. It's like people think they're combative, but they're really collaborative. So like her company's so cool. And they support moms, not just in Naples. Like they've shipped to, she's going to kill me if I get this wrong. Las Vegas. That's correct. And I think they've done New York, Miami.
Not just in this area where they're supporting mom.
Yeah.
What does she do?
They do like overnight fresh delivery.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if you're ordering like a 3-day or a 7-day package, which, supports the whole family, I love it. I never get leftovers, which I wish you'd make more. But it's a really cool business. And now they're in like one of my favorite coffee shops here in Naples is called Golden Hour. And Lauren and Kristen with the Village Naples, they actually every Wednesday and Friday drop off pre-made meals that are healthy and accessible. So like in their fridge, they're there too. A little shout out to my wife. But yeah, I mean
the meals they can get there.
Yeah, you can. So they do bowls. So they have a nudes bowl. It's called Send Nudes. It's a noodle bowl with chicken and it's really good. And then they have a Mediterranean bowl I think it's called the Med, which I'm also going to get killed if I don't know what that is. But I love the noodle bowl. The Send Nudes bowl is my favorite bowl.
And where can we get that? Because
only at Golden Hour, which is GLDN Hour. It's basically on 5th Ave. I think it's 900.
It's on 5th.
9th. It's like, you go, if you're looking at, it's just east of 9th off 5th. So around like 5th's expanding. I see all the buildings getting torn down. Yeah, so pretty soon it'll be off it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. I'm always looking for, good meals, healthy meals. And I like to buy, it's time is always an issue. I love to cook, but I can't always, make a healthy meal when I you know, don't have the time for it. So
I buy their bowls all the time, full price. I do. I do. It's like my lunch. I take it to work. I work at VentureX, which is the co-working space.
Yeah.
By me, but absolutely. But yeah, I love what they do. I think it's great. I think they work too hard. They can systemize and get like help and ask for help and receive help. Just like we talked about.
Well, she just had a baby how long ago?
3 weeks ago.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow, 3 weeks ago.
I know her partner's just been inundated with work. I feel for her, Kristen. She's working so hard. They ended up hiring Kristen's sister to support, and who's awesome. But I think they need a full staff. They're so busy.
Oh, it's a great problem to have. That's awesome, especially this time of year.
Yeah.
Here where you.
Yeah.
Naples is Naples. So are you here all year?
We are here all year. Yeah.
Oh,
so I'm on I don't know how deep we need to get into it, but I'm on a visa, a work visa that we're, a 5-year work visa. Our sons are American. They're both born here, which is crazy. The landed immigrant, all this, I don't know, like my second son, Becca, may not be a citizen depending on, because I'm a Canadian. So like, we don't know the new rules. So we're still figuring out. Bo is for sure a citizen because he's almost 2. But it was like February 1st, something about, citizenship for non-citizens giving birth here has changed. So
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I heard some about that, but I didn't know it actually.
Well, right now he is. He's got a birth certificate. He's got a social. He's got a passport. But I mean,
still up in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a lot of things now. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love it.
What are they going to say? He's got to go, but your other son can stay.
Yeah,
Like,
literally. Or they're going to kick us out and our only our 2-year-old can stay.
Stay.
Yeah. Yeah.
We covered so many great things. I'm just going to look here for a second because everything that I wanted to talk to you about has just naturally come up, which I absolutely love. And I want to see if there was anything that I missed that I really wanted to. Here's one. So if you could go back to your 10-year-old self,
okay,
what would you say to him?
Thank you. Yeah.
Cool.
I think that's like, I love you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I get it.
I think that's.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good question. I'd typically answer that like more with advice, but I think that guy just needs support.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Yeah.
I got that you were resolute about it too. Like it was the answer for that.
Yeah.
All right. Some fun questions here.
Okay, great.
Do you have a hidden talent?
Ooh, I can juggle. I don't think that's
really?
very
Awesome.
cool.
Okay,
It was we did that for my concussion recovery, but yeah, I can juggle.
What can you juggle?
Oh, not much. Like tennis balls.
Okay. Anything is a big deal to me.
That's about it. Yeah.
What music's playing while you're in the car or in the zone?
Ooh, 2 different things. So in the car, I've made a rule with myself that it can only be audiobooks or podcasts. Unless my kids are in the car, and then it's like whatever they're listening to, like row, row, row your boat, or Old MacDonald Had a Farm. And if I'm in the zone, that's like hardcore UK trap rap music. I don't even know any of the titles, but I just put it on, and that's if I'm in the gym or I don't listen to anything if I'm working. I'm kind of weird that way. I don't listen to anything, no music, no podcast, no nothing. I just be. But yeah, gym and car are 2 different versions of myself.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I get it. I can get that. If your life was a movie, what would the opening soundtrack be?
Oh, I wish I was better at remembering song names. I don't know. Opening soundtrack. Life as a movie. Oh, there's one of my favorite artists growing up. Kind of be funny is Lil Wayne. He's got a song called "Let It All Work Out." I think that it's odd as I think that just came to me. It's like it's rap, but it's like it does all work out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like how that fits. I get that for you.
Yeah.
I can totally get that. Are you reading anything or listening to any books right now that resonate with you?
Oh yeah, all the time. What do I got on the go right now? Oh, I didn't know. Do you know Abraham Hicks? I didn't know that
don't
that
think
wasn't
so.
a person. So I'm reading an Abraham Hicks book, and this is going to be complex if you don't know who Abraham Hicks is, but Abraham Hicks is not a person. Abraham Hicks is, I call it a ghost, but it's somebody that projects through somebody else. So I've never been into this that much, but I picked up a book, and I forget what it was called. Ask and It Is Given. And that was one of my favorite books of all time, but it's Abraham Hicks, who is a spiritual guide but anyways, it's written by a human, a person, but Abraham is not a person.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get that far. I mean, I still trouble to get that far, but it's an incredible book. It's called Ask and It Is Given. And I believe that the premise of that book is, say we just don't ask. That, you know, let's just say you want $1 billion. Have you ever asked? You know, have you ever, gone as far as to ask for what you want? And I think that is, and it's not about who you ask, it's just saying it out loud. Sometimes, energy is magnetic, and I completely believe that now, like with negativity versus positivity, you got to really work at the positive. But I love that book because the whole premise is like, just ask, just put it out there.
Yeah.
Manifest it, get it out there, let it resonate, let it stew, and it'll come back to you.
Is there a book or a movie that dramatically altered your life, like significantly impacted who you are?
The first book that changed my life is The Obstacle Is the Way by Ryan Holiday. I was extremely ill when I read that book, and I think I handed that out like I was a salesperson after I read that book. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle was the second book I read that,
love that. Love that.
was good.
Yeah,
and he wrote A New Earth, which I really liked as well. And then I dove fully into Joe Dispenza, and I read all of his books. I think Becoming Supernatural or You Are the Placebo, 2 really good books. I read every single Napoleon Hill book, and I'll read them all again. But Think and Grow Rich would change my life, forever.
Staple. Yeah.
Yeah, and I read all these like random ones. I love. I read 50 Cent's The 50th Power with Robert Greene. I actually listened to that one. I thought that was really powerful, just about like owning your truth and, depending on yourself, and it has a really, really cool power. I listen to a lot of books that are more like self-help. Like I listen to Gary Vaynerchuk for, marketing wisdom and stuff like that.
Too. Yeah,
he has a book.
He's a guru.
Oh yeah, he's a guru. I think I forget what his book's called, but I've listened to like 4 of his books. What recently changed my life? Oh, there's one. It's got like a target on the front of it. Rick Rubin book. It's not coming to me, but it was a really good book. I thought he was really cool. He's a $400 million man, but you ask him what he does and he doesn't know. He says he sets the vibe.
Yeah.
Like he's like worked with Pharrell. He's worked with like some of the top artists of all time, direct like in movies, and he's on set and he's just setting the vibe. He'll be like, yeah, I like that. Or his book is all about energy, and I really like that book. I wish I could remember what it was called. It has like a circle and a dot.
I can see the cover. I know the book you're talking about. Yeah.
And like they'll keep coming to me because I love learning. I love books. I just picked up a new one. I'm reading it right now. What's it called? I can't. It'll take me too long. But it's a play on words. I really wish I could remember it. From mindful to mindful, like MINDFULL to mindful. And it's about the practice of like wall gazing and Buddhism and spiritualism. And I think that's where I learned about being still. So like when you're washing the dishes, you're not thinking about driving the car to get gas or whatever the next thing is. You're washing the dishes.
You're actually with the dishes.
Yeah.
You're washing the dishes. Yeah. In the moment. Yeah.
I think that's the rack of books I got on my brain right now.
Yeah. Okay. Good. That's good. It gives me some to look forward to with.
I have a whole list. I used to document them. Like when I was really sick, I read 52 books. My goal was to do a book a week. So I did 52 books in a year. And they were all self-help books. Not that helped me at all, but like I got a lot of cool nonsense in my head.
But sometimes there's just one thing in a book that can just hit you in a way. And I love this about books and knowledge is just, it reshapes you. There's another version of yourself that comes out when you hear that one thing that the book or that somebody says or that the book gives you an insight too that you just never knew that you never knew.
Yeah.
And when you know, you're like, oh, a whole new world has opened up to you.
Yeah,
That's
like the
what happens
simplest things.
Yeah.
I like Simon Sinek or something.
Yes,
He's like,
yes.
start with why. I think that really helped me because in my coaching practice that I work with my coach, we have something, it's called the PRP. Oh, sorry, not PRP. RPM. Sorry, PRP is the injections I did in my neck. RPM, so it's results, massive action plan, and purpose. So I did that backwards. But purpose is the whole point. So the result is what you want. Like I want to make $1 million in 30 days by December 31st. The purpose is so I can support my family so that I can guide others on how to do it. And you build a whole list of what the purpose is. And then the massive action plan is just a whole list of things that you could do to get you there. It's not a to-do list, but it's an undeniable list of things that'll get you there. So when I was overcoming my illness, my goal, it's a SMART goal. So specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And, my goal was to, cure Lyme disease. I forget what it was and it happened. I forgot to look at it, but by a certain time, and then we moved to Florida. I had a move to Florida RPM. And then when I built my business, I had a first client RPM. And then I have a cash flow positive RPM. And now we've got like all these different RPMs and it's all about purpose. So, the result only happens if the purpose is great enough. So finding your why. Yeah.
Simon Sinek. Yeah. He pops up all over and I love his, something about the way he says it too. It just doesn't come across as the way, but for me, it's just like, oh, he's thought provoking, I think.
Yeah. He's a very good storyteller.
Yes.
I listened to him this morning. He's telling a story about his top 5 things. And like number 2 was, the strongest talent or the best talent you could ever have in your life is learning how to accept help. I forget the rest, but number 2 really spoke to me.
Yeah. And so many of us don't do that. I think of, and I forget that it's a gift to the other person to allow them to help.
That's what I forgot too. And that's what I learned on the thing this morning was like, you're actually giving a gift to them.
Yeah.
They want to help you.
Yes.
They're doing it, for you, but it's also for them.
Yes. Yeah. It goes both ways and it lifts both of you up too in a new way. What podcasts are in your rotation these days?
I think I really only have 2. I have Know Thyself, which is my favorite. I think it's just because there's like thought leaders that I would never think about, like people that like talk about aliens and longevity hacking and ancient civilizations. It's just something that interests me. And then I listen to Lewis Howe's The School of Greatness. And I like that one. It's similar to like a Diary of a CEO, but there's more like stuff. Like he'll have Joe Dispenza on there. He'll have, leaders of change or, politicians or things. And I get to see perspectives that I would never naturally see. So yeah, I like the Joe Rogan podcast. I feel like there's so many I just don't know what to listen to, but those are the 2 I have on my docket.
Yeah. Okay.
And hopefully this one now.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You're just making me think of something, Zach, and I gotta add this to our thought process as we go through this because I'm sort of learning and evolving the same way. But it's very like I would like to take this as a snapshot and then us do this again in 3, 4, 5 months, whatever.
I would love
to see where life is.
Yeah.
Going forward and to see what's new and opened up in your life. And, it's good for me and good for anybody who's listening to us too. But to have people back again, because this is just a moment in time, and then to fast forward a little bit and bring you back and wrap some more about some.
Absolutely, because I'm stuck in like one theory right now, and it's like called like the be the fish theory, and it's like driving me insane. It's like the birds that create the sacred geometry, and like an oak, and an acorn will always become an oak tree, and how is everything so perfect? And then as humans, we think that we can dictate our own lives. So the reason I think it's called the be the fish theory, I was listening to somebody's podcast, and they're like, you're not the river, and you're not trying to swim upstream. You're just the fish, and you let the river take you wherever you go. And in nature, nothing else in nature is trying to change nature. And it's like, the human problem or the human challenge, or just what makes us different is that we try to change nature. Yeah.
So it's all about, we're always fighting against it. It's raining.
That's why when I said ambition, I was like, that can be taken negatively because, my ambition is to change lives and impact ambition. And, that may come with, me getting something in return, because I feel like when you give, you get. But I'm not an ambition to the point of I don't want to cause disruption. There's massive disruption all the time. And I think that there's awesome things that come from it. Like Amazon, I can go on my phone and do something. But yeah, I don't know what the conversation will go to, but I just know the next one I'm stuck in this theory of, letting life take me, setting an intention and allowing, rather than pushing upstream. Like I've been one to push upstream my whole life. It has to be hard. I have to work through it. I have to go against the grain. I have to prove myself. And now I'm in a new theory where it's like, I'm going to set my intention, allow it, see what happens, do what I can, but I'm not going to go against anything.
Yeah.
I'm going to let it come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a book I read years back by Dan Millman called Way of the Peaceful Warrior.
Cool.
And from what I remember of that, and now it makes me want to reread it, but just there was a lot of that in there, where allowing life to be where life is and allowing the flow of life and not resisting everything that comes our way and feeling the need to change. If it's going to rain today, and is that going to upset my day? It's going to rain today.
Or like, because as deep as if I snap my leg walking out of here, I would be so angry. I would be in pain, but I'd be angry. Yeah. But why, like what I said earlier, why be upset if I'm going to have to do it anyways? I'm going to have to go to the hospital. I'm going to have to get my leg repaired. I'm going to have to do it. But the anger is different than the pain. The pain you're going to feel. Yeah. The anger is because it's not going in the way you want. Tony Robbins has an equation for suffering, where it's just expectation does not equal reality. And that's a simple equation.
Say that again.
Expectation does not equal reality. You want it to. We want it to. So we want expectation to equal reality, but it never will. And that's how we get stuck in suffering. And suffering really occurs when expectation can't equal reality. Yes. So like if you, I don't know why I'm going so far, but like if I did break my leg and they had to amputate it and I wanted my leg back, I can't get my leg back. So I'd have suffering because I could never get my leg back. Yeah. You can only change one side of the equation. So you can change expectation or you can change reality. And that's in that situation, I can't change reality. So I have to change my expectation.
Yeah. And that's truly where the pain and the suffering is. And this is expectation for many things, whatever it is. Like, I worked out 5 times last week. Why did the scale go up?
Yeah.
What shouldn't have happened?
Yeah, expectations really are something to work on that we just should eliminate. Like, what's do the work without the carrot, or I forget. I'm awful at paraphrasing, but there's Alex Hormozi, who's one of the guys I look up to. Sure. He says that all the time. It's like, do the work. Yeah. Don't worry about what comes from it. Just do the work. Yeah. If you enjoy the work, that's better. Like I love my work. I'll hop on 100 concierge calls a day. I love to hear people. I love their state change. I love when they hop on the call and they don't get it. I love when they hop on the call and I'm like, hey, it's Jordan from HatchPath for your concierge call. They're like, oh yeah. And by the end of the call, they're like, oh, thank you so much. Like, I can't wait for this experience. Like, what's next? I love that. I crave that. I look for that. And if I didn't love that, my job would suck. Because it's just, I'm just a front desk agent essentially. Yeah. Like I could hand that. Like my team always wants me to hand that off to other people. I love that. So the work is easy. I don't, and like that's a bonus for me. I'm not expecting that change because it only happens like once in a while. Yeah. But when that does happen, it's so awesome.
Well, I think so many in life. I come across this a lot when we go to the hair schools, the cosmetology schools. Yeah. A lot of students who end up in this business have to go another route before they end up in cosmetology school because society and their parents have a different pathway for them. Like, listen, you need to go to a university. You need to, I've already prepaid for your college plan. Yeah. And they've just never been a books person. They've just never been into math, and it's just not their world. They're artists, they're creative, and it's always been in their way, but they have to follow that pathway. And they have to go be a dental assistant, hygienist, or find a more secure job or do finance. And they have to fight with the society and their parents until they can finally, their parents recognize, or they have enough boldness to say, no, this is really what I truly love and am passionate about. I don't want to be going to Bank of America every day and have a 401k and have health insurance, but hate my life. Yeah. I want to do what I love, what gets me excited every day, what I get excited to wake up for and go to work for, because I get to change people's lives by doing their hair and making them feel pretty and look pretty.
That's incredible what you get to meet those people, because those people are self-starters and they're rare. And we talked, like we said earlier, like the experience, like I want this, and then what happens if I don't do it in 10 years? How am I gonna feel? Most people are at 50 years, like they're at the stage where they never did it, and they actually they feel that, and that's why I think that's so important that and not everybody gets a chance to do it, and that's it's okay. You can find enjoyment and a purpose somewhere else. Your career also doesn't have to be your purpose.
Correct.
We could have no expectation for our career, and then our purpose is set somewhere else. And I think that's cool too. And it could just be a part of your life. But I love the people that you're talking about. Those are the people that we look for too. That are, you're not coaching is not for everybody. It's really not. It's for people that are ready for change, and change sucks. Change is scary. Change is not certain. Change is so uncomfortable. Even if it's good change, it's so uncomfortable. So
nobody likes it.
There has to be intention. There has to be a foot in the door. There has to be. So every time we work with an organization, we don't just choose, HR or leadership. Like people have to opt in for our services. We explain what they are. We put out a feeler, and people opt in, because without that opt in, I don't think anybody would ever have change. I think the changes already happen once they opt in. So like once the people decide to, come work for you, or work for Inherent in general, they've changed. They've decided to.
Yes.
They're ready.
Yes.
If you at school, if they're in high school and they said this is an opportunity, and they painted it the same as the bank job. Yes. You may have some people that are like the bankers here. Yeah. So I think that it's a really cool thing that people have had to go through that trauma experience, or that overcoming of their expectation to actually be, because now when they sit, like when you have customers sit here, you're with people that have done something. Yeah. They have broken a barrier. They've gone through the obstacle that is the way. Yes. And they are actually, everybody here is that.
Hey, such a great distinction you point to, because it makes them, they're a different level of going through that, because they've had to deal with they've had to deal with no agreement. They've had to push through not the norms, and get themselves to that.
Really cool people. I would love to see like those people in this chair too, like David. And, I think that learning.
Yeah, he's a great example of it, because he has a whole corporate background before he.
I didn't know that.
This. Yeah,
and that'd be cool to learn.
Yeah,
like I would love to learn that. Like I worked in management capital, and I did derivative securities as my business degree, and calls, puts, futures, options, all that stuff. I did some AI and business work, and I have no interest. No interest at all. Like if it was up to me in high school, I would be, I'd go to Oxford, and when I was in grade 12, I won Playwright of the Year. I wrote a play that, I loved. I wanted to be in front of a camera. I wanted to, I thought that that's where I could make change. I thought that that's where I could, that's where I would get power to make change. So, I didn't. I was scared. I could have pursued a career in hockey too, and I didn't. I went to university, and then once I got there, I realized how far behind I was starting again. I was the same as everybody. I didn't have an advantage. I had an advantage if I went to pursue my playwright career. I had an advantage if I went to pursue hockey. Even though it didn't feel the way in the moment, I felt scary. It felt different. I just followed the crowd. I was a sheep. I followed the herd. All of my friends went to university, but none of them did what I did. Yeah. And we all had different talents. And if we all followed our passion and talent, we'd all be different places now. Yeah. So. Yeah,
so true. You said something before that stuck with me when you said when somebody commits to or signs up for or commits to that change, signing up for cosmetology schools, signing up for coaching, whatever it is, that's the alteration right there. It's not even actually getting to the school. It's the moment. It's no different than when somebody books a vacation. That's 3 months from now. Their life is different because they're living into that vacation. Like 3
their
months.
Their mindset's different too, and they're looking forward to it. Their anticipation. 90% of the dopamine happens before you get there. Yeah. It's only 10 that's released in the actual thing. So I think the same is true for coaching. Like if you decide you want to weight loss really isn't what we do, but it's a great example. If you decide that you want to lose that weight, you want to lose 50 pounds, you want to lose 100 pounds, and you really decide and you book a coaching experience through your work where they're going to we don't share anything, but they're going to see that you booked a coaching experience and they're going to know what it's for. It's just the nature of life. You're ready to change, because that in itself is the hardest decision to make ever. Like it's so much easier to stay sick. Like I could have stayed sick with Lyme disease. It's so comfortable. Like that might sound weird, but it's so comfy to be sick. It's people give you different energy. You have a different, it's certain, there's certainty to it. It may be hard, but it's it's simple and it's comfortable. I wake up in pain every day. I know I'm going to wake up in pain every day. I'm going to tell people I wake up in pain every day. You know, it was so hard to make the change because it was uncertain. It was way harder than I could have ever imagined. And I'd do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Made you who you are right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I hope it doesn't happen again, but if it did, I'd have a good plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's why we got to continue this conversation, ongoingly. I really love this because it's thought provoking and it makes my mind.
And I love an answer to the brain thing too. Like if I asked my mother-in-law, she's super spiritual. She's actually a practitioner on our platform. She does something called Huna, which is basically the Hawaiian Reiki, and her clients love her. But I love asking her these questions because she won't answer them. But so the question is essentially like, if my brain and your brain were swapped, what body would you be in? And like, if it could happen, that's like the question. She won't answer. She would tell me that, you know, the consciousness is not physical and she chooses where she goes. I personally think I'd end up in your body. I think I'm kind of tied to my brain. I don't know why. That's my belief system, but I think I would end up in your body. But I'm always curious to think about what people think. Because if I cut my arm off, I stay me.
Yeah.
Even if my arm gets sewn onto you and your arm gets sewn onto me, I think I stay me.
Yeah.
But if our brains exchange, I think I become you.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I don't know why I think that.
Yeah, that's
because it's just an organ, and we tie consciousness to it. But really, I don't know if it's true.
Well, even consciousness has just come about in recent years in this scheme of time. Like consciousness is just still evolving.
Yeah, like maybe on the next one we can get your answer.
Yeah, right. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what it is, and I hope my answer changes.
Yeah,
because that'd be pretty. Like we can do heart transplants.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if patients ever feel something from the other person. I've never looked into that, but you stay you with a heart transplant. And the heart, heart's pretty important. So I wonder what the brain question is so interesting.
Well, especially with the work that Musk is doing with Neuralink and the neural, just the how they're.
Which is so important too. Like for the, spinal cord, and like I could have been one of those people, and I didn't mean to put it that way. Like I meant, I could have been paralyzed too for my accident. And Neuralink enabling people to, use neural synapses and reconnect the cord and walk again is great. I get scared when they're like controlling a computer with their brain. That kind of scares me a bit.
Yeah.
But I know, like, it's the evolution of human nature, and, we've done it before and we'll continue to do it. And like, we invented, the internet, farming equipment was a good one. I saw somebody bring that up when they're like, AI is taking all jobs. And it's like, remember when we were all farmers and then we had farming equipment? Yeah, right. Right. Yeah. The human will evolve too to a new career path that's even, deeper than what AI can do. AI is just information and application.
It's a tool. Yeah.
So I'm just really interested. I hope that, we can continue to discuss consciousness in our next one, because that's something I love.
Yeah. Like, it's fascinating.
Yeah. Like my first thought of the day, I always question it. Like whenever I wake up, I'm always excited to know what that's going to be, because I don't know where it comes from.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's memory. I don't know if it's projecting. I don't know where it comes, if it's from my dreams. I never know where my first thought's going to come from.
My wife had two brain surgeries. She had a pineal cyst removed, and then she had another surgery after that. And then she had after the surgery, she had a stroke, and she was at the on the neural floor of Tampa General neurology floor. And they had her brain hooked up to a machine where the brain waves are showing up on there. And, thankfully she's recovered, doing great.
Okay, amazing.
Now.
That's great.
And, the brain is such an incredible organ there was a point during this process of her having this stroke that she couldn't access language. Like words were not coming out of her mouth. All she could say was mama, 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 mama. And the other word she would say, she'll probably not be happy about me saying this, but all she could say was fuck and mama, mama. She was so frustrated. Yeah. Words were not coming out. And, she had this, I forget the term of what is aphasia. Okay. And I didn't know it wasn't permanent. I thought it was going to be permanent, where she just couldn't access language again. And she was, whatever was going on in the brain wouldn't allow her to go into that area of the hard drive, like to get the words out.
That's a great word you use too, is like hard drive.
Yeah, like she couldn't get there. And she was, the doctor would say, "What is this?" And he'd hold up a pen, and she knew it was a pen.
Yeah.
But she couldn't get the word out.
Could she write pen?
At the time, I don't even think they went there with her. They were just trying to get her to communicate and diagnose what the issue was. I remember this because I remember falling on the floor, praying to God, thinking, "Oh my gosh, will she never speak again?" Because I didn't know at the time. Yeah. We didn't know, and the doctor said she has aphasia. Of course, I Google aphasia. My wife's a doctor, so I can't ask her because she can't answer me. But so I Google aphasia, and aphasia is like, well, you should look up long-term care. It's going to be an issue for the rest of your life. You're always going to need counseling and coaching because this is going to be, if she can't speak again, it made it sound like she wouldn't be able to speak. Yeah. Which I didn't know was temporary at the time. So I was on my knees at the hospital in prayer. And
I'm so grateful it's temporary.
Yes. And that was it. But watching her recovery, it took a good year for the neural pathways to realign themselves in her brain to get full recall of everything because, there was areas of her brain that were shifted, messed up, distorted, and your brain has to rewire itself. It has to find new buses, new pathways to get to that data, which it did over time, but took some time to find where that data was because she's got a lot of knowledge up there through medical school that she was like, I know this stuff, but I can't find it.
Interesting.
And the brain just is a phenomenal organ, and to see her go through that and it to all be there, and I'm thankful and grateful that everything worked out the way that it did.
Me too.
It was a miracle in that. But I'm very, very fascinated in that, that organ that we have, that brain, that hard drive is just, it's something else. Cause it was open, when you open that up and open the brain up and you get in there and they're doing surgery on it, I guess one of the things that was happening was when you expose it like that, I don't know if the term is electro, but there's actually electrical impulses that it changes. And what caused some of this to happen with her? She's probably saying, "No, that's not how you say it," which I maybe not.
We'll figure it out. We'll edit it in.
Yeah, right. But having her, seeing her go through that, and then also, seeing, I'll listen to Andrew Huberman.
Yeah, I love Andrew Huberman.
Yeah.
He brings the science behind certain things.
Yeah.
Wicked. I mean, I had nothing similar, but when I had my TBI, my traumatic brain injury, I was recommended that I do gymnastics and neural networks and synapses, and bouncing was supposedly really good, but it got to the point where I was doing flips and tricks and, all that stuff and strengthening my neck muscles. But eye work, I used there's red lines and white lines on things, and they'd go back and forth across my eyes, and it would, train the synapses, and reading was a big part. That's why I read so much, because I wanted to just track with my eyes was a big one. So I couldn't read for a long time. I couldn't be in a car. I couldn't read. I couldn't see a computer. I couldn't, for some reason, I couldn't figure it out. But the brain will repair itself, if you let it.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's such an impressive organ, and that's why I'm so confused with consciousness and where it is, and when it comes to V, and if it's eternal or pre-existing, and if it is pre-existing and we have more people now than we've ever had before, at what point do we run out of consciousness?
Yeah. Yeah. We were given that question was put to us in a tragic situation when my father-in-law had a brain bleed in February 3rd. When we found him, he had been out of contact, and we were concerned about him. We went to his house, and we had to break into his house, and we found him on the floor, and he had been there for a day and a half on the floor. His heart was beating. He was alive. And when the paramedics took him out, my wife rode with him in the ambulance. He's Superman to us. So I thought he's going to be fine. His heart is beating. We got him in time. He's okay. And it wasn't until they did the brain scan that my wife knew right away that was it. For the rest of us, most of us didn't understand it, but he had a midline shift, which in the brain is where the brain shifts off the stem. And once that happens, there's no hope. There's no coming back. Basically, he was unconscious from that moment on, and not conscious. But the neurosurgeon said, one of the things she said, to comfort us was it's one of the best ways to go because you slip under unconsciousness and you don't even know, he had been there all that time, still heart still beating and still alive, yet they don't even know, she said, though, that what level of consciousness remains. He's never going to regain anything once there's this midline shift. He'll never get anything back. So there was no surgery or there was nothing they could do when the brain bleed is that severe. It causes the brain to shift off the midline. And, she said, well, we don't know. He could be there. He could not be there. You could keep loving on him because they had him on a ventilator at that point. And, we're pretty much saying our goodbyes and we love you. And she said, we don't know. Science does not know whether he's here or not here. We just know that, as far as his recovery and there's nothing that we know scientifically is going to have him be able to recover, but keep talking to him, keep loving him, keep holding him, keep praying over him. And, then we had to make the decision to, pull the plug basically and let him go to heaven. And, all that time, with all the science in the world, they don't have a clue of what's going on inside his mind. They know that he just, there's brain function there, limited brain function, but so we just did what she said, Mike, we love you. We know it's your time. We thank you for everything. And, as hard as it was, and then let him go off peacefully. But at the same time, science goes, well, we think he's not there, but we don't know, we don't know where he was with that, at that point.
Yeah.
And the thing about it was when they turned off the ventilator, his heart continued to pump and to beat without getting any oxygen because the vent was off for 30 minutes. He's such a strong heart, It just kept going and going and going. And then finally, the last gasp happened and, we were with him in that moment. But, I don't know. I only bring that up because we talk about consciousness and we talk about, being and what we don't know, and we don't know.
Yeah. It's still crazy that we don't know.
Yeah.
After all these decades, centuries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then maybe that's the way
it it's intended, and that we're trying to know something that's unknowable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It isn't.
It's nice to think about it and to look into it. But it's also comforting to know that we don't know.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And that there's something that we can't even explain with words that happens.
Yeah.
Like I've had experiences where I can't explain them with words.
Yeah.
I don't know what you try to tell someone else, but if they've never had the same experience, like seeing to a blind person, it's trying to explain that would be near impossible because the blind person's never experienced it.
Yeah.
So there's, consciousness is something like that where words just...
Yeah, there's just no language for it. There's just nothing that exists in the language that can express what that is or how that works. And
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have many more podcasts in our future.
Yeah,
to work on together.
Thank you.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
We need to know, what's your coffee order?
Oh, I have like a black cold brew.
Cold brew.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I buy a Busy coffee at Publix, Bizzy. So it's pre-made cold brew.
Oh, it's pre-made cold brew. Okay. Black.
I shouldn't. Yeah, I shouldn't have that much, but I do.
It's my vice too.
Yeah.
I love my espresso. Black. What's something about you most people don't know but should?
Interesting. Most people don't know about me. That's a good question. I think, this might be more than anybody knows, but that I pray a lot. Not that I have any religious denomination. I don't even know if my wife would know that. But I'm not asking for anything. I'm more thanking. What I do in the morning is I at least give myself 10 minutes every morning. And I sit in silence and I'm just there being thankful. And sometimes I ask for things, but it's definitely prayer.
I like that. Cool. So now she knows.
Yeah.
Lauren knows now.
Yeah. Yeah, she knows something. I'm up. So,
so we have These are random questions.
Okay, great.
So you get to pick a card.
I get to pull one. I'll pull this guy. Do I give it to you?
Nope, you read it yourself. You get to answer it for us.
If you wanted to win an eating contest, what food would you choose to eat the most of? Oh, I love food. So this could get dangerous. Yeah, I was talking. Yeah, like to to address this quickly. One of the coaches that we work with, I was telling her, like, I've been trying to eat for the purpose of sustaining life rather than because I enjoy food too much. Like I could eat anything and just enjoy it and eat the crap out of it. I could eat it forever. But if we're talking about what I would actually win at a contest, it'd be French toast. I'm a French toast addict.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I was at a graduation party this weekend and she made a French toast casserole, which I'd never seen in my life, but it sounds like something you would enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm trying to sustain life now and eat and, enjoy other parts of life. Still enjoy food. But yeah,
that's awesome.
I'm a French toast guy.
All right, let's do one more.
Let's do it. I'll do this guy here. Would you rather have the superpower of invisibility or flight? You know what's really cool about flight? Have you ever flown in your dreams?
Oh yeah. Freely. Yeah. It's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're pretty much invisible to other people like already. I think like we're all stuck in our own heads. Like I'd rather fly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds more fun.
I've dabbled with lucid dreaming. I've tried so many times. I've flown, I don't know how many times, a few times in my dreams. I think that's the coolest experience ever. And then once you know you're doing it, you sometimes wake up. But that's my favorite.
I think I get a line with you on that one too. All right, final question.
Sure.
So we always wrap up with this one. What do you love about your life?
Like it's simplicity that I'm here. I love everything about my life. I love my boys. I love them so deeply. I love that I love the stages of life. I love my son, Bo. He's going to turn 2 in July, and I just can't believe that he's saying 3-word sentences. And the things he says sometimes like stop me in my tracks, and I'm blown away. And I love new life. I love Beckham. He's 3 weeks old, and I can't imagine life without him. And, I actually can't imagine life without them. Like if I physically think about my past, it feels like they were there. And that's another question of consciousness. It's like when I go back into memory and when I met Lauren, I just feel them. And it's so interesting that I can't have a time in my life that they weren't there. So anyways, I love life. I love exploring new things. I love that I'm in pain free. I love I love that life's temporary. I love, that I might not know what the next thing is. I love that we got to meet.
Yeah.
I love my wife. She's absolutely incredible. I love my mother-in-law. She lives with us. I think she, for a little too long at a time. She lives with us 6 months at a time. I like her. I love her. I love the sun in Florida. Absolutely love the sun. I love getting out in the sun. I love spending time with my family in the sun. Yeah. I mean, one thing. I heard this recently. It's like when you're in a state of gratitude, you want to get rid of things. So what that means is like you want to declutter. You want to give back to people. You want to, get to the purity and the simplicity of life. When you're out of gratitude, you want more. You want the Ferraris, the mansions, the things that, are cool, like our trinkets that are fun to have. I think you can have both. I think you can be in gratitude and have the things. But I think I'm at a point right now where I'm, we got a lot of things too. So that's fun. But I'm in the point where we're moving. I'm like so happy. If I just had my wife and my sons and, we were on I don't know. I can't imagine I wouldn't be happy as long as I had them. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I like the things too. I'm in a process of removal.
Yeah.
Like when I think about having something, I'm like, well, I'd rather get my son something that he would enjoy. Because I know that he's not coming from it from a place of ego yet. Like when you give him something, he really wants it.
It's curiosity.
Yeah, it's just curiosity.
Yeah.
Like most of the things that I would want would be ego based.
Yeah.
I get a lot of things. I get my wife a lot of things. She gets me a lot of things. And if we do it out of enjoyment and more about, loving things, like, giving them to each other and loving. But I get to a point where I realize it's ego too. Like one of the ego things was having 500 coaches on our platform. I really had to think about that. That was just a stacking number. yeah. Anyways, I love a lot.
No, I
Yeah.
get what you mean. I get it completely. You know, I was talking about recently. I got the biggest TV I've ever had.
Yeah.
Like the biggest flat screen I've ever had,
Yeah.
and I had looked forward to the prices coming down because it just didn't justify it at a certain price, and it got low enough to where I thought, okay, this 85-incher is at the right price where it's going to look good on the wall, and I'm going to love it. And like a day after I got it, I was like, so what? Is that it? Like, it didn't give me anything other than it filled up more space on the wall, and I don't even watch that much TV.
Yeah.
But
It's like the new iPhone consumerism. It's like, oh, I got to get the next one. What is it the exact same? It's just like,
right.
Yeah, like with the TV, it's probably just bigger. And
yeah,
it's like,
that's it. No
but
more
it's nice.
nits.
You can be grateful and like thankful
absolutely,
and love it.
Absolutely. But it did nothing for my life to really enhance things other than look good on the wall, you know, that we had with the stone wall behind it. So
like my neighbor, he's really cool. I really like him. He's got like a family, 3 kids, and he got a Ferrari. And like a couple weeks later, he crashed it. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, you know, and he went from being like the most ecstatic about something to the most negative about something. And it's not his fault. It's a Ferrari, and now it's going to be worth nothing because it has an accident on it. But that's also the thing with getting things. It's like what happens if your TV broke the moment you put it up, like, and you had no insurance on it or whatever, you get like a warranty on it. It's like, well, now that thing caused me more pain than it ever caused me joy.
Right.
Yeah. So like that's the thing about removal.
Yeah.
Is it will always bring you joy. If you give it to someone, like you donate it to someone, it brings them joy, it brings you exponentially more joy. Yeah. If it's as simple as removal of like declutter, it just feels good.
Oh,
it just feels so good. I love the process of removal.
Yeah.
Like you can't lie. Like we have more than we'd ever need. Like so grateful. We have great family, great health, but we have things. We have so many things, and I have gratitude for that too. But maybe I'm not mature enough yet to get rid of those things, but we're trying.
A quest. Yeah. We're always in the same inquiry. We're doing the same thing, but I noticed that the minute we move something around, like we just had more closet space built in the closets so we could put more stuff in the closets, which fills up very quickly. So we have more stuff again. And you know how quickly we had to declutter the closet to put the shelves in, to reclutter the closet to fill up the shelves again. So it's a never-ending cycle. And with Amazon, it's just like you have.
Oh my gosh, yeah! Like I have another
Mm-hmm.
business. It's kind of random, but I sell poop bags. We have a business called Simple Dog. I have with my partner.
We go through a lot of them, man.
Oh yeah, I have 2 million poop bags in my garage right now.
Right?
Like I don't know. Every time we sell more, we get more, and I'm like telling my partner Adam, like I need to. Like my wife and I were moving at the end of June. And I'm like, my wife's like, you're not moving the poop bags. The poop bags have to go. So it's, you know, another funny thing is that they just keep appearing. They're just everywhere.
Yeah.
So spaces are just filled with poop bags at our house. Yeah.
There's nothing worse than getting out on the walk with Boo Boo, our little Morky, and going down to the poop bag holder and realizing it's empty. Yes.
Oh yeah. Then you got to look like the worst guy ever.
I gotta do the fake pickup in case there's a camera watching me.
Yeah.
She's so little. She's a 7-pounder. So
that's great then.
Her turds aren't too much of a
My dog's poods are probably 7 pounds each. So that's good. Yeah. So we made like it's a fun project. I love it. Like my partner Adam's like one of my best friends, if not my best friend. And we wanted to, like, he's a developer, a residential real estate developer. I do the health and wellness thing. And we wanted a project that both of us had never done before. So we built an Amazon product. We did research, you know, poop bags are the number one reselling dog product on the market. But it's a hard gig on Amazon, like the competition and stuff. So we pivoted and now we do like wholesale, retail, all that stuff. And it's something. It's fun. We love poop bags. Ours are biodegradable. Made from cornstarch, but it's a lot.
Yeah, well, he's always going to need them. People are always going to need them, especially you know, as the love for animals is growing wildly, and people take better care of their animals than they do themselves anyway. So
yeah, it's good to have animals. I like it.
Oh yeah,
we look at our house, and if it didn't have hair on it, I wouldn't be as happy. Yeah,
it's all part of it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I love them.
Well, I honestly can't thank David enough, but I can't thank you enough for you know, taking time out of your life to be here, especially with a a newborn at home, and I have to thank your wife for
Yeah,
giving up her
absolutely.
time. And by the way, we are going to set up some pampering time for your wife, especially she deserves it and
Well,
needs it. We're
thank
going
you
to
so
give it as
much.
a gift from us for her to come in and get a transformation or whatever she'd like to have
Thank
done
you.
in the hair world is going to be our gift to your
That's
family.
so kind.
So
Thank you
she
so
can use
much.
some, absolutely. It's something that every woman deserves.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure she feels like a queen, like she should, and
Thank
a
you.
princess, and
Yeah.
take care of her. And I really appreciate you and you sharing yourself and your soul with
Yeah.
us, you know, and I think it's great. Naples is, you know, this has sort of evolved to be where the premise of this is to spotlight humans that are working on making this world more compassionate, more connected, and more
Yeah.
kind. And you embody that in many, many ways.
Oh,
So
thank you
it's
so
great.
much.
Our community's blessed to have you. I'm thankful that you're a part of Naples and this wonderful paradise that we
Oh,
live
it
in.
is a paradise. Absolutely.
I look forward to continuing our ongoing inquiry into consciousness and,
Yeah.
and life as we know it.
Yeah. And if consciousness is anything, it's just love. And I
Yeah.
think that what you're doing is bringing love to as many people as you can, and it's exponential. Love one person, they love someone else. So
Yeah.
it's so cool. Yeah, I'm so grateful. I'm getting a chill right now because energy is everything, and I think that you had an incredible energy, and thanks for having me.
No,
It's been incredible.
an honor and a privilege. You know, I never know what to expect going into these, but I always end up coming out going, wow, my life is so enhanced, so enriched. And
Me
I really
too.
appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
really.
thank you.
Thank you a million times over. Zach, you did a great job of setting
thank
up
you,
somebody
Zach.
else great. Thank
Yeah.
you, brother.
Yeah,
That's
thank
awesome.
you.
Jordan's story reminds us that from the depths of despair can come hope, resilience, and a renewed sense of purpose. His journey from a life-altering accident and chronic illness to building HatchPath and supporting others is a testament to human strength and compassion. As we wrap up today's conversation, we're reminded that healing is possible, connection is powerful, and every one of us can create a ripple of positive change. Until next time, keep shining a light on the good people in your world.